The time has come. History is set to be written. Rugby World Cup 2019, the final. It's England versus the Springboks. Matchups across the board. Eddie Jones and Rassie Erasmus, the two masterminds of national resurrections. England knocked out of a home World Cup in the pool stages. Now they're here. Springboks at an all-time low just 2 seasons ago, now back near the top. It's two great leaders, Owen Farrell and Sia Khaleesi. Farrell, tough and uncompromising. Khaleesi, an inspiration to a nation. The stage is set. It's the Rugby World Cup final in 4K Ultra HD, right here on your home of rugby, Fox Sports.
44 matches, 20 nations, an unforgettable World Cup. And it all comes down to this. Tonight, live in Ultra HD with no ad breaks during play, the final. England and South Africa. Winner takes rugby's biggest prize. These white-hot Poms. Wow. What about how they smashed and bashed their way through the all-conquering All Blacks?
Boil over. The favourites are gone. What an epic semi-final.
That was Eddie Jones, the mastermind. Knows all about the Springboks. There for their last World Cup win in 07. Against, yep, you guessed it, England. His smirking skipper, Owen Farrell, played on one leg for most of the semi.
What a ball from Owen Farrell.
A warrior, like his hitmen, Tuolangi and the Kamikaze Kids.
Oh, that's a hit. John Curry.
The Boks, two-time world champs, never lost a final. Vicious as they come. Look out for Crazy Eyes Betsabeth.
Staring each other down.
And the bloke they call Beast. You'll be there, belting out the anthem. Next to Captain Khaleesi. Went hungry as a kid, walked to school without shoes. Now, united his country. What a yarn. It's the biggest match in world sport this year. Tonight, England, South Africa, the World Cup final. And it's right here in Ultra HD and ad break free on your home of rugby, Fox Sports.
From the very young to the powerful, there's Shinzo Abe, the Japanese PM, and South African President Cyril Ramaphosa. Great anticipation at Yokohama International Stadium. In fact, throughout Asia, across the world, for this first Rugby World Cup final in Asia, England versus the Springboks. Great to have your company. With me here on Fox Sports, Stephen Hoyle, Stu Barnes and Justin Harrison. Stu, England hoping to get to that 2 World Cup mark where Australia and the Springboks are. And this is the first time we've seen a head coach, get to a World Cup final twice in Eddie Jones.
Yeah, it's a redemption story for England. Didn't make the knockout stages in 2015. Now they're red-hot favourites to win it. Eddie Jones has done a magnificent job. It's been a rollercoaster ride. At times they've looked dazzling and unstoppable. At times it looks like they've come off the tracks, but they seem to be going bullet train accuracy, speed and everything right now. Jones's team look on cue.
He's always said as well, Eddie Jones, judge me at the World Cup. He said that when they went on an unbelievable run, 18 wins straight, which equalled the All Blacks' most number of Test wins. He said that. He said there'll be a dip at some stage, but judge me on the World Cup. The script's been written. It's just 80 minutes away.
And what about the Southern Slam factor? If they win tonight, they've beaten Australia, the All Blacks and the Boks.
Yeah, very significant. I think both sides, both nations have been on dramatic improvement curves. 215 for England. South Africa's been a steeper curve for 2 years, and both have had to rebuild their talent pool, their structural pathways and the way that they arrive at these tournaments. And both have done extremely well under the guidance of very astute coaches.
And South Africa, if they do win tonight, will become the first side to do so after losing a pool match. They lost their first one against the All Blacks.
Yeah, and I think that's not new rhetoric to us. Before the World Cup, most lunches that many people were rocking up to, some of the language was about this could be the first World Cup where we see the winning team having lost a game in the pool stages. So there's no surprises there, really. A very competitive World Cup this year.
Well, that game they lost to New Zealand, they'll be looking at the first 20 minutes of that game and saying we need to match that type of intensity against England tonight. So there was still a lot of good to take out of that game they had against New Zealand. They bashed New Zealand for 20 minutes. They just didn't get enough points in that early onset. So they got a chance to do it again tonight.
And Pollard, we've seen so many World Cup finals come down to a kick, a goal kick, a conversion, a penalty kick, a drop goal. Could it be him or Farrell that decides this match tonight, Stu?
It certainly could be Pollard's day. I've always been a huge fan. I recall seeing him in 2014. He was captain of the South African under-20 team that lost to a Maro Itoje-led England team. He was a magnificent player then. He got in the Springbok team quickly. He beat the Blacks, so it seemed, almost on his own. He had an injury, but he's back now. He's a high-class player. He's the key man. People like Villy LaRue, you get the feeling that he's a brilliant player, but England are going to target him defensively.
Let's head inside the stadium now. Our expert commentary team, Tim Horan, George Gregan and Phil Kearns. You've all played in World Cup finals. You've all won them. Tim, first to you, what's going through the minds of the players ahead of running out this evening?
Well, with only an hour before kick-off, the preparation's all done. You're looking around at your teammates in the dressing room and looking at, how much trust and belief you've got amongst them. I used to look at George and Kearnsy, and you look them in the eye and you know how hard you've trained, the sacrifices you've made, and it's a really special time, 1 hour before kick-off, and George, you've all been there, but it's a special time just to look your teammate in the eye and say, let's go.
Yeah, it is. It's go time now, and you've worked really hard, as you said, Timmy. It's an opportunity which doesn't come around much in your career. You're lucky to have it once in your career, let alone twice. So you've got to take it, you've got to enjoy it, embrace it, but don't you, Kearns? You need to get down to playing footy as quickly as you can.
Oh, absolutely, and I think the answer to the question partly relies on how old you are. If you're a young 20 or 21-year-old like Curry and Underhill, you're probably just out of your skin going, how fun, this is just really cool, and you want to get in and rip and tear. But if you're one of the older players, you're more likely to keep control of your nerves, be a little bit calmer, try to calm other guys down a little bit, and as Tim says, you sort of rely on each other to keep it down. But for a young bloke, this is heaven.
Gents, thanks so much. We'll check in with you again shortly. First, let's head pitch side through our expert eye. 99 Rugby World Cup winner Rod Kafer. Rod, England and South Africa, two rugby-loving nations. What's the atmosphere like there pitch side this evening?
Well, of course, everybody's in town for this big game. I'm stood next to the Welsh commentary team. They just line them up here. Johnny Wilkinson, Brian O'Driscoll, Sir Clive Woodward, just 5 metres away. Everybody is really excited by the match, the opportunity, the thing that is the Rugby World Cup final. You go down in history as the winners. You go down as history as the losers. Nobody wants that tag. Everyone is ready for it, though.
Rod, thank you. Let's go through the England side. The England starting 15, Stu.
It's a powerful team, 1 to 15. Front row is one of the most creative ones I've ever seen in the Northern Hemisphere. Vunipola, brilliant footballer. George, exceptional. Sinclair, one of the stars of this tournament. In the second row, Itoje, arguably the star. Courtney Laws, his enforcer, line-out expert. The back row, we're not going to stop talking about them. Curry and Underhill, the enforcers, the best pair of flankers in this tournament. And Billy Vunipola, all of England waiting for the big one from him. At half-back, Ben Youngs is the experienced veteran, hand on the tiller, won't go too far forward. He has driven England. He's the man with vision. Farrell's the leader. Tuolangi, he is the muscle. And in May, Daly and Watson, England have a truly world-class back three on the counter-attack.
Let's hear from the mastermind, Eddie Jones.
A fantastic performance last week. How do you try and build on that for tonight?
Well, we know it's a final. We know what's at stake. It's just about every day this week we've tried to get better. We left about 3 or 4 tries out on the field last week, so we pick up a few of those today, we'll be all right.
In the build-up, how much is it mental and how much is it physical?
Massively mental this week. You know, it's all about the way you think, all about the way you approach the game, the context of the game. Yeah, we've done very little physical training.
You've been in this game before. What do you think it's going to take to get the win?
Look, you know, finals are tough whole affairs. You've got to do the simple things well. There'll be a couple of moments in the game where you just have to do the simple things brilliantly, and that's what we're aiming to do.
Can't wait. Good luck, Coach.
Thank you. Cheers.
Justin, you know him better than most. In fact, you've played in a Rugby World Cup final under his coaching. What's he telling the players in the last 24 hours?
Yeah, I've still got the nervous twitch from knowing Eddie Jones as well as I do, I suppose. But look, he's a master at building anxiety and pressure and then refocusing that sort of pressure onto what's important all the time. His language is very simple and direct. It's very beneficial and it's well prepared. He's very good at bringing you down and building you back up. So this week he would have genuinely looked to have fun with his English squad. We've seen some images of laughter and smiles at training. But the minute you take your mind off the game, Eddie Jones will be a postcode away and you'll hear across the paddock, "Go, don't stop fucking around. We're getting ready for fun." Yeah, so he's got eyes everywhere. He knows exactly what he's doing when he needs to do it.
Stephen, your thoughts on Eddie Jones as coach, because he has achieved a great deal. He's had his focus on this particular match for 4 years.
Yeah, the value you get out of Eddie Jones is the fact that he's been here on a number of occasions, once as a head coach for the Wallabies, once as an assistant coach for South Africa. He would have spent most of the week using footage of proving why the players are so good and why they're ready, and also there's so much information, data. He would constantly be telling his players that they are ready for this. They're physically in the best shape of their career. They're mentally as prepared as they've ever been. So he'll have them confident without being cocky.
What Eddie Jones said in that interview, he talked about doing the simple things brilliantly. Now, we're in an era of the super coach, and you get people like Joe Schmidt who can pan out a game from the first to the 80th minute. And I still believe that under pressure, players' minds implode. What Eddie Jones has done with England, he has simplified the whole process. Yes, they have a game plan. Yes, they have an alternative when things don't work. But they see the game simply and they see it with clarity. And I think so many rugby players now are confused by overcoaching.
Stu, for our viewers who are watching in on for the World Cup and might not watch as much rugby, just remind our viewers and our younger viewers what they've come from, because they lost in the pool stage at their home World Cup 4 years ago.
They went in at 2015 under Stuart Lancaster, and at the last minute they dropped George Ford from 10. They put that man Owen Farrell there. Sam Burgess came from Australia, rugby league, nowhere into the England team. Absolute confusion. Only that man in shot there, Ben Spencer, is something of a question mark because of injury to Willie Hines. Other than that, this England team is so well crafted. And that's the word I would use. Jones has crafted it and he's built it. They went in 2015 with an open side who was captain, but not good enough at the breakdown. He's built the Curry, Underhill factor. Jones, where there was weakness, there's a strength. Where there were nice guys, there are hard men. Where there were losers, there's winners. Ford's a classic case. Brilliant rugby player. People said, but does he have it mentally? He's been as tough as nuts all tournament.
In 2015, the English side couldn't compete at the opposition's breakdown. No. They couldn't slow down the opposition's ball. They couldn't steal the ball. And there was no interchange of passing between the forwards. It was a one-dimensional, old-school English forward pack, and they've got the exact opposite. They've got competitors on the ball the whole game, and they've got interchange of play between every forward. It's
captured the imagination of so many around the world. Letters of support going to England and Eddie Jones. This one from Buckingham Palace to head coach Eddie Jones. The performance in this tournament has delighted supporters, inspired many people throughout the country. I send my congratulations to the England team, management and support staff on reaching the Rugby World Cup final together, with my very best wishes for a memorable and successful match. Her Majesty. So, as you know, as someone who's been in the World Cup and the final, you get attention from everywhere, and as we see there, including from Buckingham Palace. The expectations are huge. How do you then bring it back, Justin, to do the basics, to do what you've trained since you're a young person taking up rugby?
Yeah, I think that's the skill of having people around you that remind you constantly of what's important to perform as well as you can in a team. That is the beauty of rugby union. Many different moving parts make big actions, and very small errors break it all down. Eddie Jones is very good at making sure you understand what your meat and veg is, adding one thing that's going to change the game possibly, but have 4 or 5 different scenarios. What he's done with this England side is made them decision makers and able to react in a skill set that's been refined over the last 4 years.
Well, let's go to a bit more detail on how that's been refined and what the on-field difference, if you could talk us through that, Stu, of the Eddie Jones coaching time, the last 4 years at Rugby England.
Well, we'll start with the back row, as we just touched upon. They couldn't win a turnover. It took Eddie a long time, but he's got a couple of open sides, and that's what he's always wanted. Fetcher's the kamikaze kid, Curry and Underhill. I don't think, Stephen, there has been a more influential duo of players at this World Cup.
Yeah, I think back to 2015, Eddie Jones was recently appointed. George Smith was playing his footy at the London club Was. He came into England camp as a consultant. He probably didn't change things completely, but it was just a mindset focus of what England rugby needed to do. They needed to have experts on the ball. They've got two starting. They've got Wilson, who comes off the bench. And having players on the field, sometimes two next to each other, sometimes two, one either side of the field, having them in a position to get these steals, it stifles the attack. And it did that last week against New Zealand, and it'll do the same tonight.
Of course, it was Pocock and Hooper who caused so much problem. Now they've got their own men to do that job.
They're also very good front on tacklers, Drew. That's the thing that we don't mention too much. We're always talking about their work at the breakdown, but their front on hits are amazing.
Well, we talk about collisions. Collisions, everything there. If they win those collisions, as Underhill in particular does, they get half a metre forward, the other team's in problem. That's the back row. They're not bad in the front row either, are they?
They've got highly skilled front rowers, and I don't believe Eddie Jones has taught these guys to have this type of skill. He's just allowed them to play with this type of skill. He's got a game plan with Scott Wiseman that encourages players to play this type of footy. Mako Vunipola, you see him here. This is a short line out they play. He's your loose head prop catching it like a 5'8". He goes to the line. If it's not on, he can carry it. If it's on, he can throw it out the back. Again, that's a loose head prop throwing a ball out the back under pressure. That just shows not only the skill, but the freedom they're allowed to play with in this 2019 English side.
And then, of course, there's Elliot Daly, Eddie's arch experiment, perhaps. The centre, who the Lions played wing, who Eddie Jones says is a fullback. He kept picking him, he kept dropping high balls. But Jones did not back down because he knows that for all the question marks in defence, there's something spectacular in attack. His ability on the counter-attack is brilliant, and he's bringing Watson and May right into this tournament.
The combination with Watson is excellent. What Watson does so well is he holds his distance. He keeps his marker, which allows Daly to have a go. If, for example, Watson tries to come in and doesn't trust his inside man, that brings the outside defender in. So Watson, the combination, he's always down that 5 metre channel. All you ever want in your wing is just to hold width and allow the players inside you to make the play. Last weekend, first minute of the game, this is the first line break. This is essentially what led to this brilliant start. Watson on the outside, holding his width, allowing Daly a one-on-one, gets the offload, and then he beats 1 or 2 tackles always. It's
that outside arc of Elliot Daly. It's the Eddie Jones dream. Is it about to become a global reality tonight? Daly, keep an eye out for him. Outstanding player.
Stu, thanks. Stephen, appreciate it. Justin, we've looked at England, let's look at South Africa. Talk us through the Springboks lineup.
Yeah, it's so important to the Springboks' performance tonight as this tight forward pack with a loose head at Beast has been there for so long. A talisman, Mbanambi and Malherbe are going to finish very strong in both halves. Etzebeth and Diaga are going to be the engine room. The power and size of these two second rowers against the skill and finesse of Itoje and Laws, and we've got Khaleesi, such a powerful figure for so many reasons. Vermeulen is going to carry straight and hard, and de Toort is going to be the one that's going to influence the game. Well, the back line, Faf de Klerk, we'll see him kick, and we'll see him kick a lot. Pollard, he needs to take the ball and take it to the line. He's got to use his centres, Deolande and Am. On the wings, you've got Mpimpi and Cheston Colby. He's back from injury. He's a genuine threat, and he needs to be used. And fullback, Willie LaRue, he could be rocks or diamonds. That's the type of player Willie LaRue is.
And we've seen Colby earlier in the tournament. He was out in the previous match due to an ankle injury, but he's back and could be decisive, Stu.
13 tries in 13 tests. Absolutely sensational in French club rugby. The All Blacks, one of the great teams. Cheslin Colby with that footwork, that low centre of gravity, that awareness. He knows where he's running before he goes, and that makes him so hard to tackle. He is a genuine potential superstar tonight.
One of the beautiful things about rugby, isn't it? You get the RG Sneymans, the enormous, huge players, and then the smallest player on the field is looming as the biggest threat, Justin. Yeah, and quite often these players are given the title of, they're creating something from nothing, and there's this explosiveness and something coming out of nowhere. But that's a skill set, that's an opportunistic performance, and that's delivered by an inside centre, a 10, a 9, and a forward pack that dominates. You can't create something out of nothing in Test rugby at the moment. Yep. You need to have that platform delivered to you, and that's why the Springboks pack tonight is so important to the likes of the outside backs for the Springboks. When we talk about the leadership of Eddie Jones, it's also the South African coach who has brought the Springboks back from what was a couple of years ago a very poorly performing team, and now they are back and in a big way.
Rugby's a momentum game. How do you try to create that tonight against England?
Yeah, no, I think they definitely have momentum, but I think we also have a bit of momentum, maybe not as much as they do. I think yeah, both teams will have to stop momentum. I think going into the game, definitely they're the team that I think form-wise showed really great form against New Zealand. And it's difficult to judge our form against Wales because you saw what New Zealand did to Wales last night. So yeah, let's see, the first 10 minutes should determine a lot.
I know emotions always are wrapped around these types of games, so have you tried to and keep your team in the moment?
Well, yeah, for us, you know, not a lot of our players have played in World Cup finals, you know, so it's a bit of a challenge for us. But saying that not a lot of our teams have played in quarterfinals, semi-finals, you know, so we've been taking it week by week, and I really must say, I'm surprised by the calmness and the focus the boys have, so hopefully that spills onto the field and we see that on the field as well.
I was about to say, have the boys enjoyed the week leading up to this final?
They have. I must say, I think our tensest week so far being at the World Cup was that first pool game against New Zealand. I think we were a bit stiff and all not too much focus, almost over-focused in that week. But since that, I must say, the boys have been really nicely focused and there was a good balance. But this is a World Cup final week, so there is a little bit more tension.
Good luck, Coach.
Cheers, man. Appreciate that.
A bit more tension. That's quite the understatement of the South African coach there. Let's head back pitch side now, Rod Kafer, with someone else who knows a bit about winning World Cups.
Standing here with John Smith, former captain, 2007 Springbok captain. Tell us a little bit, John, about Siya Kolisi. You know him well. You know what this means to the team. What's it like at this point to be captain of a Springbok side?
It's a big week, you know, and Sia's got a massive responsibility, and I think it's always important for people outside of South Africa to understand the history, and from being segregated with the Springboks at the centre of that as one of the symbols to now, 24, 25 years later, having a black African captain possibly playing in the world's greatest stage, lifting the greatest prize. What that means to back home and what that means to this team, I think gives him and this team a much greater purpose than most teams in a situation like this. They're not playing for each other, they're playing for each other, their families, and they're playing for 57 million people who have seen massive progress from a transformational point of view in South Africa.
The 2017, we saw a tweet about the WhatsApp group.
Yeah.
We've been in a couple of WhatsApp groups ourselves, but there's a lot of support from guys who've been in this situation before, isn't there?
Yeah, it's special. I mean, we got our group from 07, and we've got this WhatsApp group, and there's a lot of rules. Obviously, you're not allowed to talk about anything naughty on there. You're not allowed to send any naughty pictures. But there's a lot of talk around positivity and this team, and we've just been able to reignite the memories of 12 years ago through Francois Steyn, who's in that team. And you know, the messages that have been coming from us to him in that WhatsApp group. You know, he sent us a message on the bus on the way to the game. Says, you know, he's just saying, feeling so emotional about what 12 years ago was and what this could be. And then I saw him on the field and the sort of tears well up, and that's the kind of emotion that rugby brings out of us as South Africans.
And what do the Springboks, what will they do in this game? We're so close to kick-off now. You're so close to it. How are they feeling, the players, the current group?
There'll be a huge amount of nerves, and they'll obviously have to focus massively on blocking all the noise and sticking to their plan. Everyone talks a lot about their plan of will they play, will they kick. They're going to do what they've been doing to get you. And they have played. We've seen them play in the championship. When they play territory and they get into the 10 and they get into the 22 of the opposition, they will start using that pull. But they're going to be very, very, very conservative. They're going to be very controlled. They're going to be very physical. They're going to hope for scrums. They're going to want to make sure that they win the collision early to stop the sort of Eddie Jones first punch mentality. And first 15 will be important.
All right. Well, you know Eddie Jones well. You won him a World Cup 12 years ago. John just told me that he thinks Eddie Jones should take one for the team. We couldn't have England with a Cricket World Cup and a Rugby World Cup in this year. So,
Eddie, you owe us one, mate. Come on.
Yeah, I was just going to say, John, we've heard Rassie Erasmus saying he feels that England have a bit more momentum than South Africa. He's playing it down a little bit. Are you slightly concerned that maybe he's playing it down a little bit too much, making South Africa underdogs?
I don't think that's possible for a South African team. The further down into the corner and the darker it gets, the more the sort of South African mentality comes out, and he'll be doing all of this quite purposefully. He'd want to be pushing all the pressure onto Eddie, and he'd be wanting his big, ugly, angry backer forwards to get angrier and angrier during the week. And the narrative has been all England the whole week, and that possibly is the perfect script for South Africa. I think there was an email doing the rounds from the RFU inviting their ticket holders to buy more hospitality because England are most likely to win the Rugby World Cup final. You can only imagine what that does to a big, strong Afrikaans rugby forward.
Indeed. John Smith, Rod Kafer, thanks so much. Enjoy the evening, and what a wonderful evening it is there at Yokohama Stadium. Stay with us. We'll have every bit of the action here on Fox Sports in 4K Ultra HD. It's not far away now, the final of Rugby World Cup 2019.
When you get so hungry, sometimes you tend to want to go steal and break into people's houses so you can eat. But for me, that's when I went to train. Without the people in my community, I wouldn't be the person I am today. Even with my family, they couldn't give me financially, couldn't give me much, but they give me love, support, and time, and that's all you need as a child. Especially when I put on a jersey and remind myself who am I playing for, Everybody who's ever been hungry, everybody who's ever struggled financially, everybody who's walked to school without shoes on. I really think an individual can change South Africa. And sometimes you gotta do something as simple as living your life and fighting for your dreams. And sometimes you just have to tell your story. I'm Siamthanda Kolisi. I'm proud to be a Springbok, but even prouder to be a South African.
What a moment it would be if Siya Kolisi does hold up the World Cup this evening. Stu Barnes, the great Nelson Mandela, was told in 1994 not to embrace the Springbok, that it was the symbol of their oppressors. He did embrace it, as we know. And now the prospect of a black captain leading South Africa to triumph this evening.
Oh, it's a fantastic thought for South Africa. I was fortunate enough to be in South Africa on his first game as captain. It was against England. The whole place erupted. Kolisi is a very fine player. He's a very fine man. His story is an inspiring one. It's one that black South Africans need. Spiritually, politically, every way you could think just about, he's the right man. But technically, I have to say, he's got a tough one tonight because he's against the kamikaze kids who are fantastic on the ground, and that's not his greatest area. So he's got to find a leadership that goes, I think, guys, beyond what he does as an individual.
Well, his style of football suits when they play a bit more of an expansive game because he's got good wide running abilities down the short side. He's got an offload in his game. He's a good link and support player. The style of footy you saw against the Welsh last weekend didn't suit him, and that's when you think maybe a Francois Lowe needs to be in the side. But as a captain, his best way of his best way of leading is just to play good rugby. That's why he got picked in this side. That's what he needs to do because he's up against the two form-on ballers in world rugby.
And the influence that he's going to have on the game is going to rely on de Klerk and Pollard. If they play the way they played against Wales, that will play out Curry and Underhill and play Kolisi into the game and the power of the Springbok pack. This game is going to be all about patience. England are going to be frustrated at times because I think that the Springboks will starve them of opportunity to release the ball and release the athleticism of their tight forwards. This is the first time in a long time, probably, we were talking before the match, 07, that the power of the Springboks could be greater than the English pack. And, look at the journey that Kolisi's been on. This is an example of the power of sport, the unity of sport and the pressure of sport all rolled into one. South Africa have gone through major political change and still are, changed their flag, multilingual anthem, very, very powerful undercurrents of what the importance of sport is to the nation of South Africa.
It broadens the appeal. They already love the Springboks. They love this sport. This would take it to a whole new level if they were to win tonight and to see the triumph, as this is being followed so closely in South Africa, but in fact, Stu, right across Africa.
Well, when you say they love the Springboks, historically they haven't. Black South Africans have seen them as the emblem of something else, and rightly so. And 1974, black rugby fans supported the Lions. You go to South Africa, there is an amazing amount of all-black support. That's why this is so important. That's why Cyril Ramaphosa has travelled to Japan for his Mandela moment, and he keeps saying 57 million people are behind. It's a rallying cry. John said it with Rod. Yeah. It's the key there. It's trying to unite all of Africa behind what was once a symbol of something really pretty unedifying.
Let's head back to the stadium. Tim Horan, Phil Kearns and George Gregan. George, first to you for the captains tonight, Farrell and Kolisi. as a captain that's gone into a World Cup, what's their mindset? How do they give that leadership, that crucial leadership to their teams?
Yeah, the best form of leadership's also always with action, so they've got to lead by example. You heard Eddie Jones, I heard him talking earlier about really mastering the fundamentals, so you need to do that. Do your job really, really well, be calm, be decisive, and just go about your business. We mentioned it earlier, the quicker you settle into this being another game of rugby, even though it's the biggest game of your life, the better off you'll be. So you need to exhibit all those skills and all those mannerisms which come with being a good leader.
Kernsey, we've seen the engine room with the tight five of the Springboks. We know that they're powerful. We know they're going to try and get England into a dogfight. Can the likes of Maro Itoje change his athletic ability and be as confrontational as we know the Springboks are going to be?
Yeah, he's a pretty aggressive sort of guy himself. I mean, some of the things he's done in this tournament, not obviously in a punching or sheer brutality sort of way, but the way he aggressively moves through a rolling maul when he's on the defence and gets his hand around the pill and disrupts things. And he's a really constructive player for his own team, but he's just as destructive for the opposition. And we've seen it at line-out times, we've seen it at breakdown, because he's one of those guys, even at 6'7", 6'8", he can get over the ball and get a steal. He's got the most strips in this tournament. He's an incredible footballer, so he will be confrontational, don't worry about it, but just in a different style than what the South African locks will be.
Timmy, the battle in the centres, we saw Diolande get limited ball last weekend, but it was effective up against Manu Tuolangi. How big a clash is that?
It'll be huge, Halsey, and if I'm Rusty Erasmus, I'm saying to Diolande, you've got to tackle not only Manu Tuolangi but also Billy Vunipola at number 8. When they have the shorter lineouts, he tries to get across the advantage. Like, if you slow that down, Ben Youngs don't get as quick a ball as he would have liked for the forwards to come around the corner. So midfield's going to be very important. As we know, Owen Farrell, a great leader. He's very poised, he's very measured in his decisions as well. So he's such a calm leader, but he runs the play for England. He tells the forwards whether he wants it out the back or he wants it straight from Ben Young. So the centres will be a massive clash tonight.
Gents, we'll talk to you soon. Let's head to pitch side. Rod Kafer standing by. And the Kamikaze kids from England, Tom Curry and Sam Underhill, are they the best flanker pairing in the world, do you think?
Well, here's the funny thing. We like in Australia the two small flankers, the two on-ballers. We did it with Pocock and Hooper. We did it with Waugh and George Smith. What England have managed to do is actually pick the same model, but just add 2 or 3 inches in height in both of them and 5 or 8 kilos in weight. You've got these two perfect rugby specimens. Hard, either of them. They could play any position in the back row. I'm certain of it. 6, 7 or 8. Yet they just fill a role. They work so well together. Their energy, their work rate, their effectiveness at the breakdown is so good. It's not necessarily that they win the ball at the breakdown all the time, but they are like octopus in the middle of it. There are hands everywhere. The ball gets slowed down. They're very, very difficult to play against.
Kafe, the other back row member, of course, is Billy Vunipola, who's been absolutely exceptional, but we don't talk about him that much at the moment. But he's so important to this English side, isn't he?
Well, he was the big talk 4 years ago, and he's been the big talk for a long while. It's allowed him to sort of play a slightly different role, which is that more brutal role. They're warming up just here behind me. They're very, very close. I've had a good look at all of them. And there's a great deal, again, of this relaxation. Eddie Jones, they were just packing scrums 5 metres behind me. Eddie was walking up to Billy, slapped him on the back and just had a joke with him and said, come on, mate, enjoy yourself, get into the game. Really great moment from the great coach.
Rod, thanks. Let's go back to Tim Horan, George Gregan and Phil Kearns. Tim, Cheslin Colby is back tonight, which is great news for rugby fans, full stop. He's such a star. Could he be the X factor?
Well, I think it's great to have him back, Kieran, but he's got to get the ball, got to get his hands on the ball, and he's got to go look for the ball, and hopefully Andre Pollard can get some missed passes and get some width in their game very early on. He was virtually non-existent, Lucan Arm, in that semi-final at outside centre, so he needs to get the ball, and because they'll all be watching Damien Diolande. Does he crash the ball up? I think early on the Springboks might get some width in their game and use Cheslin Colby very early on.
Griggs, we know that Eddie Jones has got everyone very well prepared. Everyone will know their role. Are we going to see a rush defence against the South African side that's going to be using an aerial attack, or will England wait and see for the first 15 minutes and then decide to play the way the game is unfolding?
It's a good question, Goog. I think he probably let the cat out of the bag, so to speak, early in the week, saying they might have to make some adjustments, because I think the Springboks will change up what they're looking to do. They might bring a bit of rush defence, so they might have to absorb and hold their depth a little bit. They might have to just be a little bit more patient with their kicking. That comes from forward, and also Farrell's game management. And we know what Ben Youngs can do with his right boot. A lot's been spoken about Faf de Klerk, but Ben Youngs is very good at the box kick. So they can mix that up, as well as Daly with his left boot. So they'll be patient, but when it's time to play, they will play. One thing about Eddie, he's really strong on that. When it's time to seize the moment, you seize it.
George, Tim, Phil, thanks for that. Stu Barnes, it could well be the battle of the boot in two very different styles.
Territory is going to be absolutely vital. Keep the pressure on the other team. Don't let them play in their own half. Very different styles, you're right, Kieran. George Ford is the man who takes the territory. 1,300 metres plus kicked. No one's made as many metres. Faf de Klerk, he's the metronomic box kicker. 56 kicks. Most of them, when they go up, you've got a chance of regaining. England will look to drive South Africa back, and Ford has two ways of going about his business. The first is this kick which hits the turf. He makes 50 metres. This instance, Argentina make about 40. England make 11 metres. They keep control of the ball. That's one of their styles. The other, and watch this, if England get a flying start against South Africa, as they did New Zealand, they'll change their game. They'll stop running and they will ping the ball backwards, put the opposition under pressure and say, come on then, we're 10-0 or 13-0 up, what have you got? They will want South Africa playing all the way back there under pressure, forcing the errors from them. So George Ford will be the man who changes the tempo of the England game. South Africa, I think their tempo will remain fairly similar. It does revolve around this man, Faf de Klerk. He would rather go too high and too short than too long. Always wants to regain the ball. If he does regain it, he's got this beautiful second kick. He can make 50, 60 metres. He can create the sort of chaos you saw here against Wales in the semi-final. Faf de Klerk, I'd like to see him run a little bit more, but even if he does kick this ball, his kicking game is very dangerous. He's a key man for South Africa, just as George Ford is for England.
We're not far away from kick-off to the 2019 Rugby World Cup final. England and Springboks already underway, though, the summer of cricket right here on Fox Sports.
Everything that I've experienced in my life has led to this moment, or the hard work, or the sweat, the blood and tears. So I really want to make it count.
We're desperately excited. We're really honoured to be here, but the job isn't quite done yet.
You've imagined from being a little boy in the backyard, thinking to yourself, this kicks for a World Cup final. You've basically prepared your whole life for it. It's going to be pressure and it's going to be tough.
We've done the preparation. We know we've done the preparation. We're ready for this occasion. We've spent 4 years getting ready for this occasion.
This is the Rugby World Cup final, England versus South Africa. Thanks for your company on Fox Sports. It's really hard to overstate the opportunity for the players, Justin. It is a chance for them to create their legacy, for heroes to be born this evening.
Well, that man that we heard speaking last, he's 16 years getting ready for this since 03, so that is some pressure on himself. But the players, they are world-class players because they're able to manage pressure and dissect a list of pressure into one or two things that are important to them. And absolutely tonight we've got some talismanic people taking the field and a whole dichotomy of pressure coming at kick-off.
And who will seize that moment? Let's go live to Rod Kafer again. Your final thoughts ahead of kick-off, Rod?
Well, look, I think there's two players in England that are really going to feel the pressure tonight. Kyle Sinclair in the scrums. John Smith told me the Springboks want 10 scrums in the first 10 minutes because they're going to really go after him in the scrummage, and also Owen Farrell. The other thing to take note of, and if you're a believer in omens, there's been 4 knockout games where the Rugby World Cup, the real one, has been brought to the media with the team that is warming up at that end. First it was Australia in the quarters, then France in the quarters, then Wales in the semis, then New Zealand in the semis. The World Cup came to the end of the field, was presented down that end of the field. The media got to do a little bit of a segment with them. All 4 of those teams lost. George Gregan believes that to be the omen. It's down England's end for the final. They've got it. Could be an omen, I'm not sure. I'm tipping England just by 4 points.
We will see. Thanks, Rod. Let's get the other tips brought to you by the Australian. Your thoughts, Stephen Halls. Who's going to win and who's man of the match?
Oh, I'm going with England. I've been confident with England probably since early in the tournament. England by 6 points, man of the match. I'm going to go Billy Vunipola, number 8.
I don't believe in superstition, and omens have got nothing to do with it, but England are the best team, and is that Prince Harry? I'm not really much of a monarchist.
There's Prince Harry, yep. We've seen Shinzo Abe there. Cyril Ramaphosa from South Africa.
Brett Gospel looking busy on his phone.
Yeah. Where were we before Prince Harry
You were about
came
to tip South Africa, I think, Stu.
and ruin it?
And Prince Harry, man of the match.
No, England are going to win this by 14 points, and the man of the match is going to be Maro Itoje.
Owen Farrell, England by 9.
OK, let's get to the break. We'll find out soon enough. Greg Clark and the team after this break here on Fox Sports, the Rugby World Cup final.
"44 matches, 20 nations, an unforgettable World Cup, and it all comes down to this. Tonight, live in Ultra HD with no ad breaks during play, the final. England and South Africa. Winner takes rugby's biggest prize. These white-hot Poms. Wow. What about how they smashed and bashed their way through the all-conquering All Blacks?
Boil over. The favourites are gone. What an epic semi-final.
That was Eddie Jones, the mastermind. Knows all about the Springboks. There for their last World Cup win in 07. Against, yep, you guessed it, England. His smirking skipper, Owen Farrell, played on one leg for most of the semi.
What a ball from Owen Farrell.
A warrior, like his hitmen, Tuolangi and the Kamikaze Kids.
Oh, that's a hit. John Curry.
The Box, two-time world champs, never lost a final. Vicious as they come. Look out for Crazy Eyes Detzabeth.
Staring each other down.
And the bloke they call Beast. You'll be there, belting out the anthem. Next to Captain Khaleesi. Went hungry as a kid, walked to school without shoes. Now, united his country. What a yarn. It's the biggest match in world sport this year. Tonight, England, South Africa, the World Cup final. And it's right here in Ultra HD and ad break free on your home of rugby, Fox Sports.
Rugby World Cup 2019. After 6 weeks, it's time for the decider. Two heavyweight teams, England and South Africa, about to do battle for World Rugby supremacy. The Webb Ellis Cup. Welcome to the final at a packed Yokohama International Stadium. England put an end to New Zealand's attempt at a three-peat in last week's semis. Some say Eddie Jones' men provided one of the greatest victories ever in English sport. And now they face South Africa, a team that knows they'll have to play better than they did last week against Wales. But we are talking about the Springboks here, a side that has never lost a World Cup final. And what a moment it is for Siya Kolisi. Becomes the third Springbok captain to lead his side out in a World Cup final. Francois Pienaar did it in 1995. John Smith did it in 2007. It's been fine all day in Yokohama, and it should remain dry for the match. And wherever you're watching around Fox Sports, it's great to have you with us. I'm Greg Clark. Joining me in commentary for the big one, Wallabies, Phil Kearns, Rod Kafer and Tim Horan.
Thank you, Clarkie. What an opportunity. This is when the nerves really hit in. When you walk down the tunnel, there's Owen Farrell, who's going to be holding up in 80 minutes' time the William Webb Ellis Trophy. Farrell or Siya Kolisi and Kearnsey. It's a long walk, but I tell you what, the nerves really kick in when you see the trophy at the end of this tunnel.
Oh, yeah, you know it's real when you're walking down here. Any doubts that you may have had, got to be cleared from your mind. All those little things that can sneak into your brain, you just got to be clear going to this point.
England #1 in the world rankings, 11 wins, 2 losses, 1 draw in 2019. After wins over Australia and New Zealand in the knockout matches, they're looking for the other big Southern Hemisphere scalp, South Africa. They're going for the Southern Slam after also beating Argentina in pool play. And the Springboks, #2 in the world rankings now. 9 wins, 1 loss, 1 draw in 2019. Coming off that narrow and hard-fought win over Wales 6 days ago. This is the first meeting with England at a Rugby World Cup since the final in 2007. 12 long years. And England, they're searching for 3 in a row against South Africa. They won in Cape Town last year and also Twickenham late 2018. Farrell on the right, Khaleesi on the left. England unbeaten at Rugby World Cup 2019. They're aiming for 8 wins on the trot. Their last defeat was to Wales in Cardiff in a Rugby World Cup warm-up. And the Springboks, they're unbeaten in 2 finals. They hope to join New Zealand as the only teams to win 3 titles. Can they create history by becoming the first team to lose a pool match and go on to win the title? 2019 Rugby World Cup final, Yokohama International Stadium. We welcome the Webb Ellis Cup and South Africa and England. Rod Kafer, it's electric.
It's as good a feeling as you'll ever have running on in the final of a Rugby World Cup. The big risk for the players is they let their emotions get the better of you. As we all know, as players, you burn a lot of energy emotionally just thinking about this moment. England look calm, collected. Springboks, they're excited. I don't think they've burnt that much energy in this tournament yet. I think they've got much more to give.
Francois Pienaar in the crowd. Owen Farrell, the England captain. England join Australia and New Zealand as the only countries to play in 4 Rugby World Cup finals. And South Africa, after the first up loss to the All Blacks, they've been building nicely, scoring the most points and tries at Rugby World Cup 2019.
Observe a moment of silence in solidarity with the people in
Just
Japan.
before the anthems, we're going to
Widespread
pause for a moment's silence in solidarity with the people of Japan. And our thoughts are with the families of those who lost their lives in the recent typhoon Hagibis.
日本の皆様との結束の思いを込めて黙祷を行います。黙祷。
Thank you.
お直りください。
Ladies and gentlemen, the national anthems of England and South Africa.
イングランド国歌、南アフリカ国歌の演奏です。
boys will now get set for the biggest game of their lives. Eddie Jones, the man born in Tasmania, now head coach of England. 151st Test match. Rassie Erasmus, he's done a wonderful job since taking over as head coach of the Springboks, assisted by Matt Proudfoot, also Sudili Stick and Jacques Ninaba, as big Kyle Sinkler, 26 years of age, from the Harlequins club, Sam Underhill, and this man here is a key figure, Moro Itoje.
Itoje, what a player he is, man of the match in the semi-final for England. And this is the moment that you realise all the sacrifices you've made over the last 4 years. The nerves are tingling, and it changes lives. If you win this match, it changes your life, it changes the lives around you, of the team, of your country.
You build friendships for life. Earlier today's what a few of you 1991 world champions got together in Tokyo.
Yeah, Tim initiated, and we ended up in the Imperial Palace having a little glass of bubbles, and Tim was a little imprecise about where to go, but there's somewhere in a 26-acre park that we had to find to get together. Clarkie, this is going to surprise you enormously, but what I'm looking forward to is the first scrum of this match. I reckon this forward battle is going to be one of the biggest you'll ever see.
These two teams have played 42 times since 1906. South Africa won 25, England 15, 2 draws. At Rugby World Cups, it's the Springboks with 3 wins and England 1. This is a repeat of the 2007 final. South Africa winning that one 15-6. And Jerome Garces is the first Frenchman to control a Rugby World Cup final. He's retiring after this tournament to become the boss of French referees. Rugby World Cup 2019. The final is underway. South Africa kicking off to England. Expect some physical exchanges early on. Young's taking his time, needs some cover. He goes to the air. Vermeulen takes it. 10-metre mark, England territory. De Klerk waits. Mel Herber. And now the penalty goes to South Africa. Rod Kafer, maybe an early opportunity for points.
The perfect start for the Springboks. England, when they box kick, won't go into the air to try to compete. They'll want to make the tackle. Dwayne Vermeulen had the strength to win the ball comfortably. There's a little bit of breeze. Conditions are perfect every night for the games here. There's always been a bit of breeze picking up. It's into the face of Andre Pollard. I don't think the distance will be an issue. It swirls, but it's definitely favouring England at the moment.
Just watching Cheslin Colby chase that kick for the Springboks, looks like his ankle is absolutely fine. He was sprinting beautifully.
So Pollard, in his 48th Test match, 140 Rugby World Cup points, a South African record. Kicked 5 from 5 last week, 73% for 2019, which is low overall for him. And here's his first shot in the final.
Oh.
He's missed it.
They needed a quick start, the Springboks. Andre Pollard doesn't miss many. Rassie Erasmus, the coach, looks on. That would have been a perfect start in the first 2 minutes for this Springbok team. Try and put a little bit of scoreboard pressure on England. Taking their time to get back, George Ford.
Out of the top tier 1 nations, England have been starting their matches better than anyone else in recent times. Pollard kicking. Ford catching. Just outside the 22. Youngs to Curry. Youngs. Mapimpi. And we've got a man down. And he doesn't look great for England.
Yeah, the referee will probably pull the game up here.
And there we go.
Might have been Courtney Laws, was it?
No, he's over there. I think it's Sinkler, is it?
Oh, is it? tried to put a hit on Mapimpi as he took the ball and went forward. Eddie Jones.
No, Sinclair's there.
I stop for the security of the stadium. We come back here to the country.
Well, they signal immediately to the touchlines.
Oh, yeah, it is Sinclair.
Yeah, he just caught the hip, I think, of Mapimpi as he came through between Atoje, number 4, and just got the hip of Mapimpi. Went straight to ground. He's playing some great football too. Sinclair's offloads last week at the back to Owen Farrell, and
well, that led to their first try, doesn't it? He was brilliant. This is a major blow for England. I mean, their replacement is damn good as well, but Sinclair's scrummaging, his ball playing, his defence, he's a very complete footballer.
And Phil, just tell us, tight head prop down in the first 2 and a bit minutes, unlikely that he'll come back on under the regulations. He was knocked out cold. Then we've got Dan Cole, who's got to play, what is it, 78 minutes plus?
Yeah.
At tight head. The Springboks want a scrummage, we know that. A big ask on them.
You just saw the shot of Owen Farrell talking to Jamie George, the hooker, and a couple of his forwards to say, guys, we've got to regroup, this has happened, but Dan Cole, who'll come on, is very experienced.
Okay.
In their last test, late 2018, England beat South Africa at Twickenham by 12 points to 11. A lot of people expecting it to be very tight again. Remember the Rugby World Cup finals in Paris in 2007. South Africa won that one 15 points to 6. No tries in that. So Cole waits to come on, his 3rd Rugby World Cup. And Eddie Jones.
He would have practiced for this, Eddie Jones. Most teams practice for players to either been sent to the sin bin or leave the field really early, and what happens in your structure and what players can do to replace them.
Eddie is the first head coach to guide different teams to the final. Australia in 2003 and now England in 2019. And Cole, 93 caps for England, so he's 3rd behind Jason Leonard on 114 and Dylan Hartley on 97. Very experienced indeed. He's played 5 tests for the British and Irish Lions as well.
I just noticed when England ran the ball, they came out to the right side, and the ball runner ran straight at Faf de Klerk, forced him to make a tackle. It wouldn't surprise me if that's a consistent theme across the day. They run at Faf, the little bloke, try and tire him out, tie him at the bottom of the ruck, make sure that he's under as much pressure as possible during the game.
Running repairs here for Maro Atoje as well, the man from Saracens. Well, one of many from Saracens.
Yeah, there's 8 Saracens players from the club in the UK in the England team, and 1 Vincent Koch for South Africa. So 9 club players that have played together. They've won big championship games, European Cup, the English Championship as well, and that's the spine of the England team. Jamie George and hooker. And there is Cole Sinclair sitting up. Such a shame. He's probably just realising now.
Oh, it was Atoje's elbow. Yeah, that'd do it to anyone.
Unfortunate start for Cole Sinclair, and England on his feet. He'll go away now for the HIA, the concussion test.
If he passes that, it'll be a miracle.
So Dan Cole, the man from Leicester. He's the replacement in jersey 18.
Owen Farrell will do a lot of talking now because Sinclair was the one who's always playing out the back to Owen Farrell behind forward runners. So you have to be sort of Tom Curry or Sam Underhill will have to take that role now.
So it's Marco Vunipola, Jamie George and Dan Cole in the front row up against Ntawawira, Mbanambi and Mel Herber.
Crush. Set. Mine. Set.
De Klerk puts it in.
Oh, intense. Look at that. Look at that. Look at that.
Penalty to South Africa. And they go wide across to Mapimpi. Advantage being played.
Play on. Ball is out.
Pollard. LaRue up from fullback, trying to get on the outside of forward. Taken by Colby. And Tawawera. And Pollard. And Madumbi for Mullen. Got into play from the forwards up to the 22. Here's Pollard. Kolisi, Mapimpi. Daly holds on, ball and all.
Stolen.
Turnover.
Just as they lost the advantage to the Springboks.
George gives it to Billy and then on to Marco Vunapola. Good defence by the Springboks.
Okay, good job. Back 9. Back.
Young's in no hurry to dig it out of there. Now they spread it wide. It bounces. And they get it across to May. Got away from one. Testing that dodgy hamstring, Johnny May. Looks to be okay. Laws, good carry. Now they go to the boot. Pollard is back in the pocket. Forward. Pollard takes it brilliantly, then loses the footing, unfortunately, for South Africa, but they lay it back. Here's Mtawawira. De Klerk to the Orlandi. Scored a brilliant individual try last week in the semi-finals. Not that time, and LaRue loses it forward. Will come back for the knock-on.
Oh, both these teams are playing.
The Springboks are throwing more passes than they did in the semi-final in the first 5 minutes here tonight in the final. Billy LaRue got on the outside of George Ford, which started it. And Kaif, we said before the match, the Springboks are going to have to play if you're going to put some pressure on this England defence.
We've seen them play different brands of rugby, not in this World Cup, but previously. We've seen them use the width. We've seen them play the ball. We know the Springboks have that in them. They've got great pace on the wing. I suspect Cheslin Colby coming in gives them great confidence. They know how good a form he's been in. They know that he's got tries in him. The other thing that amazed me, England passing the ball behind their own in goal without advantage or anything. They just said, we're on. Wow, what a start.
LaRue involved from fullback, the very experienced number 15. He's 30 years of age.
He's got some pace about him. He wants to try and get on the outside of the 13 channel where George Ford was defending. Manu Tuolangi normally defends there.
Good picture, guys.
One of the reasons why Ombanambi's in this scrum and not Malcolm Marks or starting in the 15 is because they really rate his scrummaging ability, Kearnsey. The Springbok players say this guy is so strong, so powerful. What holds Malcolm Marks off, and they want to try to dominate the scrum. They generated a penalty before. Can they do it again?
Dwayne Vermeulen, what a ball runner he is. Very destructive against Wales in that semi-final. The beast.
Gee, there's a lot of talk amongst the South African pack. You can hear it on the ref's mic. They're up for this scrum.
Strong.
Before the game, Tim, I chatted to John Smith. He said Springboks want 10 scrums in the first 10 minutes. They want to really come after England. They've got 3.
Youngs puts it in. The big shove coming from the Springboks. They Released quickly, though, and that's a poor pass from Vunipola, and so Farrell has to take it into contact, claimed by Pollard. And the penalty goes to South Africa, right in front of the sticks.
Dwayne Vermeulen.
Alan Farrell, the skipper, he gets up, and he just got a little bit isolated. And Vermeulen pounced the number 8 from the Springboks right in front of the posts.
Just some real critical passing areas from England early.
I think they're under the pressure in the scrum here. That's why Billy Vunipola at the back had to pick and go and try to go out the back to Farrell, who picked it up.
They had a little play on there. What happened was Billy Vunipola was surprised that he got so far away from Siya Kolisi, who'd added everything into that scrum. Ran too far. Manu Tuolangi missed his mark for the short ball, which forced Vunipola to go out the back. And it just went to ground and went to custard.
Pollard from in front. First points in Rugby World Cup Final 2019. South Africa 3, England 0.
Well, the way they've started, Tim, it seems that the English are more nervous than what the South Africans are, the way it started.
They're just a little bit hesitant at the moment, England. Need to get their ball in hand and start to play a little bit. All the play so far has been with the Springboks.
If you've just joined us, England prop Kyle Sinclair is having a concussion test. Early setback for England. Lutiaga up to the 22. De Klerk happy to put this one into touch. We'll have a line out around about the 10-metre mark, South African territory.
Good opportunity now for England just to get into their patterns of play. They'll have a shorter line out. They'll have Sam Underhill out midfield. Also Vunipola. So you've got targets. Manu Tuolangi midfield as well.
Farrell to Youngs, and the inside ball. Good defence, Springboks, though. They were lining up. Youngs has to float one over to nobody. Well, this is an out of sorts England at the moment, under all sorts of pressure from the South African defence.
They're trying some interesting moves there. They just had Farrell playing at halfback from that line out.
Well, Faf de Klerk, he was the one that there you see number 9 for the Springboks. He read it very early, called Dwayne Vermeulen out defensively, so he could see in the second phase they were going to come back to the short side.
Oh, that's a big mistake from Ben Youngs, a man in his 3rd Rugby World Cup, 14th match at a Rugby World Cup. So South Africa win the line out. Atoje right over the top of it, and then knocking it on, so advantage being played for South Africa. Derlande.
England a little unlucky there on that line out.
And LaRue starts to move, and Colby knocks it on, so no advantage there. We'll come back for the scrum.
Gee, I thought Atoje had a dead set steal then.
Yeah, it was Jerome Garces, the referee, gave him a long time. It was only Atoje there on Etzebeth. He had it, then he just lost it forward.
England crowd booing here. Atoje squirreling away in there.
Well, the referee lost it as well. Everyone was watching the maul, players included. It was just the 2 locks battling it away. Garces was blinded by the maul, and watching the back of the maul, the ball was nowhere near it. Great clean out from Onambi.
Slow cadence. Slow. Yeah, the gap is fine because my shoulder.
And Manumbi from the Stormers started all but 2 games here at Rugby World Cup, so he's made that number 2 jersey his own, ahead of Malcolm Marx.
Yeah, one shoulder. Crush.
You open the gap.
Peter Steph de Toit, number 7, plays on the left-hand side of the scrum.
One of the nominees for the World Rugby Player of the Year, Peter Steph Dutoy, along with Tom Curry from England, and also Cheslin Colby, number 14 for South Africa. De Klerk being told to use it. Dealendi hits it up, running straight at Ford. Watson goes high and takes it brilliantly. Youngs to Ford, kicking long, finding some space. Villy LaRue.
That's the England game. That's what they want.
They want field position. I don't think that was a time for Faf de Klerk to kick the ball away. They had a good little set piece. They got across the advantage line with Damien Dealendi, and then you kick the ball away back to England.
South Africa leading England 3-0. Jamie George. And the Springboks steal it. Knocked on by England.
Gee, that is the only second line out of this Rugby World Cup that England have lost on their own throw.
Gee, Etzebeth got up there high. He was well lifted.
I know we want to fucking show the pictures. There's health and safety, yeah. Got 3 people on the ground and next to them.
Had no opportunity to get any rhythm in this game in the first 15 minutes, England.
Sorry?
Can't get past the second phase.
Marco Vunipola just having a word to Garces around scrum safety. Sign that perhaps he's a little under pressure over there.
Eben Etzebeth, the only Springbok to play 50 tests before his 25th birthday. And Eddie Jones, he won't be happy with this start. They're only down by 3 after 15 minutes.
He would have spoken to the team all this week and mentioned to both coaches would have, there's going to be some tough times in this test match where you've got to dig deep and just stay in the fight.
Yeah, we know that these games go on momentum, and that momentum swings. South Africa have had 74% possession so far. Is it now England's turn to start getting a bit of pill?
You just go on the floor, keep your shoulder. Keep your shoulder. Crush! Bye! Set! No. Yeah. Main chase. Main chase, man. Free engage. Guys. Pre-engage in your side. Clear.
Marco Vunipola, New Zealand born, British and Irish Lions 2013, 2017, his 64th test match, 16 runs against New Zealand in that wonderful semi-final victory last week. That's a lot of running for a front rower.
He's up against Franz Malherbe on the other side of the scrum. If you look at that picture.
Penalty. He thought about it for a while, Jerome Garces. In the end, he's penalised England.
Back one, backwards and NG. One.
So goes against Marco Vunipola.
Yeah, he's under big pressure over that far side.
Boy, he might have just got this out, has he? No, stayed in the field of play. Johnny May kept it in.
And Daly thumps it into touch, and so England will get the throw in, 5 from halfway.
After the hit, he moved. Yeah.
Just got it back in.
Oh, no, this should come back.
Across the plane.
He's got a foot in touch. Yeah. He's got a foot in touch. It should come back.
So it is going to be a South African throw-in. here's a wonderful drive now from the Springboks. Big defence from England on Diolande. Etzebeth. De Klerk goes to the air. Colby chasing and claiming the mark is May.
Oh, the Springboks need to keep the ball in hand when they've got some movement. Johnny May takes it quickly.
Oh, lucky to get away with that. And Youngs. Pollard leaps and now the penalty.
Yeah, offside. Gee, it was close.
Andre Pollard playing back at fullback, and now England will step up. They just jumped a bit too early. Andre Pollard, and Peter Steph de Toy was in front of him, so that's why the penalty was given to England, and now they can go deep for the first time into territory of the Springboks. Hardly had any ball and hardly had any territory, England.
They're just slowing things down now, England. Good game management from Farrell. Just, if I take a deep breath, the tempo of their line-out's very important. They either come in and go quickly, or they just wait and go straight up.
They go to the front to Laws and Vunipola to George, and they pick up and drive May back. Safe landing though. Here's George. Curry. Oh, great defence. Khaleesi and Ntawawira. To the left they go, and Farrell to Billy Vunipola as Faf de Klerk raced up. Marco Vunipola had to check his run.
Okay.
Forward. Here's Laws. Into the 22. Bongi Umbanumbi is down after that. Not in great shape. Daly. Pimpy holds on. Youngs to Ford and running on to Billy Vunipola. Back to Marco Vunipola. Numbers out wide, but Laws can't release the ball. Good ball and all tackle by Colby, and now here is the penalty going to England.
Finally, England gets some momentum getting through the phase. It didn't go too far, but Ben Youngs at scrum half is starting to pick up his forward runners and get some rhythm in the game. Umbanumbi looks like he's in trouble now.
That tackle from Cheslin Colby, 5'4" on 6'8", was phenomenal.
They had numbers.
You can just see there Colby, whilst he makes, here's the low tackle.
Head on
Umbanumbi. Head, knee on head. He'll go off for an HIA. I'm seeing Malcolm Marks on the field. A few questions being asked there of the doctor.
There's another South African down in back play as well. See him on the quarter line there.
I think it's Luke Diaga.
Yeah.
2-1-5.
Bongi Umbanumbi not happy at all. Doesn't want to come from the field, but he'll have to have the HIA, the concussion test. There's Luke Diaga.
Well, when those big forward runners come for England, you need two, sometimes three players to take them down. Billy Vunipola, Tom Curry, Atoje, and there's Malcolm Marks, the replacement hooker, for the Springboks to come onto the field.
Very handy replacement to have, mind you.
Oh. Luke Diaga doesn't look in great shape down there, that left shoulder of his.
Yeah.
Well, at this end of the tournament, most players...
Oh, he's gone.
Yeah, but
He's dislocated his shoulder.
you step back.
Franco Mostert warming up. And Luke Diaga.
Guys, we need
He's
to
trying to
decide
get him to
here
put the
what's
shoulder back in.
wrong. And Heinz, Gus, and Paul.
Trying to give it some support with the jersey. I think it was a big shot he took from Billy Vunipola, was it midfield? Just there, his left shoulder on Billy Vunipola.
Yeah, you can see it pop out. There it is, pops out.
See, it's taking 3 players to get Billy Vunipola to ground. That's a sad way to end for Lou Diaga. Oh, what a season he's had.
Is there anyone going to be left on the field at the end of this?
Well, the Springboks, they've got, you have 8 replacements, and they've got 6 forwards on the bench and only 2 backs.
Owen Farrell, 82% this season. Captain of England for the 19th time. He was top point scorer in the 2019 Six Nations. 894 test points for England, and of course he has played for the Lions as well.
Time on. Don't stay.
21 and a half gone in Yokohama. The captain with his first attempt of the night. Nice strike. We're locked up at 3-3, 1 penalty apiece.
Gives a chance for the English supporters to get into this match. He's a great leader, Owen Farrell. He's slowed the last couple of minutes down to get his forwards involved in the match.
And England knock it on from the restart.
Wow. Tom Curry. Yep. He just got put out a little bit, Tom Curry, because he had a Toje up in front of him. See a Toje go up and it just goes over him and surprises Tom Curry quickly.
It's clear the problem comes from here. Okay, so after the hit, strong and stable, strong and stable.
Just seeing Mbenambi down on the bench. They're not even sending him for an HIA. He's just sitting there.
I think they may well have just ruled him straight out. If he loses consciousness, that's an automatic failure.
Yeah, they were fighting with the medical officials down here, were the South African medical team.
Yeah. It's a straight ruled out.
Here's an opportunity for the Springboks as they drive. And they look to force the penalty, and they've got advantage. Great work at the scrum by the Springbok 8. De Klerk waits. Kolisi. Mostert, Pollard, Leroux, Mapipi. Forward pass. The referee got the call from his fellow countryman, Romain Poit, one of the assistants.
I've got a feeling there wasn't a lot of variety at Springbok training this week. I think there might have been a lot of scrums that were packed.
You go under the pressure.
Look at Cole come up there. He's airborne.
With a couple of advantage calls that the Springboks have had, it's allowed Handré Pollard to try and get a little bit of width in their game. They look sharp when he throws that first miss pass. Try and get to the defensive channel and the number 13 channel for England.
Well, the only thing about Handré Pollard's passing, he tends to really plant his feet when he passes. He's not a player who necessarily can run and pass. He likes to wind it up, so you always know where it's going. When he can play that running game, running forward and pass the ball at pace, he's much better at the moment. He can plant and deliver.
Pollard. No problem. South Africa 6, England 3.
Dan Cole just complaining there that the South African front row are driving up. He's saying, sir, you're not allowed to do that. And he's right, you're not allowed to. Garces didn't see it that way.
Ford kicking off. LaRue up to the 22.
Inside. Up, 20. Yeah. No. The 20 green.
De Klerk takes a few steps this time and puts it into touch.
Inside.
See what England do here off the line out. First couple been short line outs, they go again. Billy Vunipola in midfield. There's a Toje.
Number.
Flat pass. Oh, good skills by the big man, Vunipola. Ford. Oh, he's out on the full. He's overcooked it.
Couple of these big match players at the moment for England. Ben Youngs, George Ford, struggling to get themselves into the game.
It's a bet down injured now with a crook shoulder also.
George Ford didn't play in the quarterfinal against the Wallabies. And then was pushed one out for the semi-final. He went to 10. Owen Farrell went to 12.
In your side, on the scrum, it's fine.
George Ford and Ben Youngs play together at the Leicester Club in the UK, so they've played a lot together, 9-10. Etzebeth doesn't look too happy with that right shoulder.
Colby, nominee for World Rugby Player of the Year, plays for Toulouse in France.
You under pressure, you go step back, and when you receive the pressure, you go. Okay? Don't say next to me. Yeah, but and then the pressure. Yeah, but no. First the pressure and now.
Jerome Garces having a long chat to Owen Farrell.
Time on.
You know about the way Garces referees scrums. He makes a decision early about who the dominant scrum is and tends to back them. South Africa dominant so far and are getting the benefit.
Good take from Etzebeth. Shoulder seems to be okay again. De Klerk to De Allende. De Toy, oh, solid hit. Underhill. Marks and out the back. De Allende, and had a little look there and dropped the ball cold. And it's a penalty. Penalty to England.
Oh, catches that ball. There then is a 3-on-1 in a 5-metre channel. It was just a catch, draw and pass. They had plenty of space and options. They went out the back. This is a great shot. And that man, Sam Underhill again.
His mouthguard flew out on that, on contact.
Why do they call Curry and Underhill the kamikaze kids?
Yeah. Tom Curry, 21, Sam Underhill, 23. They'll play a few more Rugby World Cups. This penalty was against Faf de Klerk for knocking the ball out from Ben Youngs.
Well, that's just dumb stuff.
Marco Vunipola receiving some treatment in back play.
I think he's just putting contact lens in. Yeah, there it is.
What a family. Billy and Marco Vunipola, their dad, Theo, Captain Tonga, who played in the Rugby World Cup 95 and 99.
What a family, what a food bill.
Another short line out again for England. 5-man. Laws at the front.
And Youngs, well, it went through the hands of Farrell. Fortunately, Underhill was backing up. Now it's Billy Vunipola who gets it back to George. Good field position now for England. Pick and go. Vunipola pops it up to Underhill. And Youngs, Curry, some footwork. Vunipola. Otoje with the pick and go. They were waiting for him. To Alangi. Youngs. And Laws now. England fans start to roar as Billy Vunipola stands and now lays it back. Curry. And Youngs to Laws. Vunipola, 6 or 7 metres out. Billy Vunipola over the advantage line. Here goes Youngs, gets it to Underhill. He's held up. Advantage being played for England. They can take their time. Cole gets it out to Youngs. He's claimed. Farrell to Ford, who dummies. Back to Courtney Laws. Curry, Marco Vunipola. Can the Springbok defence hold them out? Billy Vunipola. Oh, great tackle. Youngs to Alangi. Laws. Oh, he was trying to get the pass away. They wrapped him up, ball and all. Marco Vunipola. The men in white, they just keep coming. Billy Vunipola. Driven back. Pick and go here. Otoje trying to wriggle his way over. Cole. Oh, so close. Vunipola. Youngs now forward. Daly, wide ball. And Watson is taken by LaRue. Another advantage. Farrell has to release it. Does so in the nick of time. Courtney Laws. Another advantage. Farrell floats one over the top. May. Colby, but they get the pass away to Alangi. Ford to Farrell. Daly. Finally it breaks down. But he was playing a very long advantage, 2 or 3 advantages, in fact.
What about the defence from the Springboks? Yes, they've given away a penalty right in front of the post, but oh my goodness, the hits that the Springboks were putting on England.
No, Captain, I just have a look. Listen to me. Only one here by one green. Only one here. And the second one by number 9. Here and here. Yeah, I know. We get going here. Yeah, but only one penalty.
Farrell trying to buy everyone a bit of time to get their breath. The Beast, the Chiefs, cheeks puffing.
One, no.
Beast cheeks.
That's it.
You wondered England score so many tries close to the line. They've lost one of their great forward ball players in Kyle Sinclair. Your attack doesn't look as fluid. Their forward runner's not as fluid. Without him there, he does a lot of carrying. The work's now being done by Maka Vunipola in a different role, and we've seen Billy Vunipola stand up. Always wondered whether England would have the firepower to score from metres out. South Africa defend it first.
Farrell kicks another one, and we're locked up at 6-all. The final in Yokohama, England and South Africa.
Farrell, he wanted to come away with more than just 3 points there. That was their opportunity, England.
Pollard. Vunipola.
Great tackle from Etzebeth.
Not out, so Dwayne Vermeulen ran into a Toje. Mostert. LaRue this time onto the left foot. Mapimpi winning it for South Africa. De Klerk. Oh, and Etzebeth was an easy target there for a Toje. Big defence. De Klerk. Mtawawera. LaRue. Pollard throws a dummy. Gets it back to nobody. And so it's been claimed by Billy Vunipola. But then they lose it back again. And so South Africa look to stretch them wide. Deolande. Good pick up from Khaleesi. Mapimpi. Nowhere to go.
From the side, from the side. Yeah, from the side. So we come back here, penalty.
Penalty to South Africa.
Played a long advantage.
From the marker.
Jerome Garces.
Holding on. And 7 green from the side. 6.
2 turnovers in a row for both teams. Dwayne Vermeulen.
Is he holding a shoulder now as well?
Oh, there's been some hits though, hasn't there? Andre Pollard, that's where the space is. He's just got to get someone to come off his shoulder.
Yeah. Yeah.
In that midfield, there's always that shooter in defence. If you can just work either side of the player who rushes up in defence and get an offload away, you're in behind that defensive line.
Oh, look at Vermeulen again over the ball. Wow. There's a famous story about a Springbok prop called Andy McDonald who famously fought and killed a lion.
It's water.
Just imagine Vermeulen doing that as well. He'd do that for practice.
Not that it's allowed anymore.
No. The lion attacked Andy McDonald, so he was the innocent victim in that case.
Andre Pollard, 2 minutes before half-time. Springboks had the majority of possession and territory. Pollard missed his first kick. This would be nice to go into the dressing room 3 points up.
And this one is going to hold its line. Over it goes. South Africa 9. England 6 in the final. Tries very hard to come by. The sharpshooters are going to have a big say tonight in Yokohama. Vermeulen charging into them.
Use it.
De Klerk to Mostert. He's on there for the injured Luke de Jager.
Stay back.
De Klerk in no hurry at all.
Yeah, oh. Step. No, back.
A slight fumble, went backwards. Now the wide ball across to De Lunde, who straightens and gives it to Lucanio kicks. Knocked on. Daly.
No. Backward. Thank you. Backward.
That's where the space is, out around the number 13 channel. De Lunde does really well to straighten the attack up.
Clearly backward
And
by Landry here.
gets a little bit of
By
space.
White here.
Coming into the game, we knew South Africa have plenty of pace, plenty of ball playing ability in their back line. We just haven't seen it, but they've bought it. They've bought it all. They've stretched. Their only problem is they look, Tim, as you know, a little bit disjointed when you don't do it in games very often, and you have to do it as a one-off thing, and you haven't played like that for weeks. Sometimes it just doesn't click, but it's starting to get a bit better.
They'll be searching the Springboks here for a scrum penalty. They'll keep the ball in the back and try and get something out of this scrum so Pollard can knock another 3 over.
Mine. Set. Stay strong. Stay strong. Strong. Don't move. Don't move. Don't move.
South Africa with the big shove now, and they get the advantage. So Pollard, De Lunde, Mostert, Pollard, no advantage there, so this is going to be another opportunity for points for the Springboks.
Clear dominance from by Green and Pollard the other way.
Look at the power. Dan Cole under enormous pressure. The replacement who came on after 2 minutes to replace Cole Sinclair. There he is there, Cole. 3 penalties so far conceded at scrum time against England.
What Eddie Jones comes up with at half-time will be interesting.
Erasmus will be delighted with this first half. And Tawarua. 3rd Rugby World Cup for the Beast. This will be a real bonus for South Africa on the stroke of half-time. Pollard. Flags go up. Springbok fans absolutely delighted. It's 4 penalties to 2. Half-time in the final at Yokohama. It's South Africa leading England by 12 points to 6.
Yep, comfortable lead at this point. Stu Barnes, a tale of mistakes and injuries for England.
It's a tale of a scrum that is being slaughtered in the set piece, and if your foundation goes, there's not a lot you can do. England, I think, have got to get Marler and Cruz on, take Vunipola and Laws off.
Yeah, there's always a danger when you see a side having a huddle at half-time before they hit the sheds. There's a lot that needs to change in that England camp. Owen Farrell's addressing it now. They're nervous, but they're also getting overpowered.
Yeah, look, I think England, you know, we have noticed them do half-time and before they go off huddles. I think what England are desperately trying to do now is get themselves back to familiarity. Process, basic skills, basic errors, 6 or 7 back-to-back errors in that first half. They are desperate to find some rhythm.
Let's go to George Gregan at the stadium. George Gregan, there's been no team that's led at half-time at a World Cup final and has not gone on to win it.
Yeah, well, there's going to be a bit of history made, isn't there, in this second half? For one, England to come back and win it with a deficit, but also a team which has lost the pool game, which is the Springboks, to become ultimate champions. So there's a lot at stake in this next 40 minutes. But I just heard you talking about the fundamentals and the basics. England haven't been good at it in these first 40 minutes. They haven't cleared their half well. Conversely, South Africa have been amazing in terms of this arm wrestle. It's been a really strong performance, led by Andre Pollard, Faf de Klerk, and a brutal forward pack.
George, thank you. More analysis on the first half after the break. We'll be back to Yokohama Stadium. Stay with us. Welcome back to Fox Sports. The Rugby World Cup final. South Africa leads England 12 points to 6. Let's go live back to Yokohama Stadium. Tim Horan joins us. Tim, a lot of nerves for England in that first half.
Yeah, wasn't it? They were very shy in that first 15 or 20 minutes. So you look at Ben Youngs, threw a couple of loose passes, Owen Farrell as well, George Ford put a kick out in the full, and it just looked to me that, yes, they were nervous, but also they were just hesitant in their attack. But that's also come from the defence of the Springboks. They're up in the face of the England team. England haven't had much possession. They haven't had a lot of field possession either, but they went through one phase where they got to 21 phases just when Owen Farrell kicked that 3 points over. So for the Springboks, though, I'll throw to Rod Cafe up on the sideline. Cafe, I tell you what, the Springboks at scrum time, haven't they got some dominance at the moment?
Absolutely, they do. Great scrums don't always win your matches, but I tell you what, poor scrums will often lose you a match, and England would have come to this game not expecting the Springboks to be as dominant as they have been in the scrum. It's been a masterclass up front. Remember, they've got 2 fresh props to come on. England don't have the luxury of that after Kyle Sinclair went off early. The England game has been rattled by all of that. Sinclair does so much work up front and around the ground. It's going to be interesting to see how Eddie Jones responds, Kieran.
Thanks, Rod. Justin, how will he respond? What will Eddie Jones be saying to the team? You've played in a World Cup final with him as your coach. What's he saying to them right now?
Well, look, we're talking about basics, okay? And that's like telling us that fish can swim. You need that in a rugby union match. The basics look like now getting this forward pack back into the game, giving them some rhythm. That means lots of little short passing, giving them an opportunity to develop some physicality in other ways than hoping that the scrum will fix itself. So some mauls, some one-out running, some short offloading. Billy Vunipola has been running well around the edges. Those sorts of blokes need to give this forward pack an opportunity. And we need to see Ben Young, Owen Farrell, those sorts of decisions in general play need to be a lot sharper and executed a lot better.
I think the line-out could be a little bit quicker as well, but they've been slow of mind at the moment. Ben Young's pass has been inaccurate from the start. It's rattled Ford, it's rattled Farrell. But the other thing I think they do have to do, and I agree with what Justin says about the basics, but where you can change the scrum is by changing the personnel.
Yep.
And all these skills are happening because they're rattled. Yeah. And they're rattled because their scrum is going backwards. And they think every time they go into a scrum, this is another 3 points going against us. And Mako Vunipola is regarded as one of the best rugby players in the world, but if he's getting his head stuck up his backside, you've got to get a scrummager on.
And Ben Youngs might have not had a great first half, but if he's replaced, it's Ben Spencer that replaces him. He arrived in Japan on Monday.
Yeah, I don't think they're going to replace Youngs until very, very late in the game if they have to. I think Youngs will play at the 80 minutes. But going back to the scrum, for every larger male or female sitting at home watching, they understand the psychology of having a dominant scrum because it affects you. If your scrum is going backwards, it starts to tinker with your thought process. And guys that normally would pass, they start to carry. If they were going to carry, they'd pass. There's a lot being said there at the moment. You mentioned just before the break, Stu, George Cruz, so he's the reserve lock for England at the moment. Essentially, Itoje and Courtney Laws, they're specialist loose head locks. And everyone talks when a scrum's getting smashed, they always talk front row. But there's so much behind that front row that's important. Justin, you played in the position. Tight head lock is a specialist position. Cruz needs to get on that field.
Yeah, absolutely. The danger when your team is under pressure is that individuals start trying to fix the solution, find the solution themselves, and you cannot do that as a forward pack.
Quite the contrast, isn't it, between the two sheds?
Well, look, England are talking about, come on, we're together. We haven't been here before, but we know how to work our way out of it. And Erasmus is probably saying, this is what we expected, this is what we prepared for, and we are getting exactly what the effort we're putting in.
England have gone for an emotional response. You can see arms around each other, their eyes on each other. South Africa have the luxury of having a technical halftime conversation because that's the plan of of Rassie Erasmus. It's going well for him at the moment. He's showing them on a video, whereas England, they're looking each other in the eyes and they're saying, guys, we need to do this for each other.
It's a fascinating contrast in the changing rooms, because Eddie Jones will be really distraught with the way England have played. Rassie will be delighted with the way the Box have played. But Eddie Jones, after 20 minutes, if you just said you're 12-6 down, he said, that's not great, but we're taking a battering, we're in this game, he'll say, we can win it from here. And Erasmus will know that they've got to come out and they've got to get the next score, put some order between them.
It's one converted try in it.
At the moment,
they could be back in it, England. So let's see what happens in the second half. Stay with us on Fox Sports as we get back to Yokohama in a moment. The final of Rugby World Cup 2019.
South Africa leading England by 12 points to 6, half-time. No team that has led at half-time in a final has gone on to lose it, so it's a pretty good omen for South Africa. England have made a change. George Cruz is on there in 19, trying to stiffen up the set piece for England. 4 penalties to 2. Third final at a Rugby World Cup for South Africa. They've never scored a try and they've never conceded one. It is Steph du Toit waiting. Referee Jerome Garces gets this underway. The Webb Ellis Cup on the line. Who wants it? Pollard. Not out. So Daly gets it across to Ford, who sends it back down to Pollard, and he's going to claim the mark.
So Cruz, number 19 on for England, the replacement, so he replaces Courtney Laws. They need to get Manu Tuolangi involved in attack, England. He hardly touched the ball in the first 30 minutes. He was massive in the semi-final against the All Blacks. Need to get a miss pass to Manu Tuolangi. There's Kyle Sinclair. He's back on his feet after being knocked out in the first 2 minutes of the match.
So Jamie George throws in for England. On halfway, goes long. Taken by Cruz, down to Ford. Tuolangi. Farrell inside ball. Curry goes to ground. Charge down. Forward across to Marco Vunipola. Takes a couple to bring the big man down. Ford. And Tuolangi. Back to May. Vunipola again goes in.
Haven't got over the advantage line yet.
And Ford. Kicks. LaRue takes it.
No.
And de Klerk doesn't want to play it at his end. Daly is forward. He'll spread it. May can't get past Youngs to Atoje, and Ford hammered there.
Here's a chance.
Curry out wide to Watson. Taken by Pollard. On halfway. Vunipola and Underhill finally over the advantage line. Taken by Mostert in the end. Youngs and Ford out the back. Daly can't release. He's got Colby all over the top of him. This has been an impressive defensive effort by the Springboks. Forward out the back, and Farrell. Cut out pass. Curry picked up by George, and he flings it over the touchline.
The line speed of the Springbok defence has just been brilliant. They're spaced across the field. Steph Toy, Etzebeth. Look at the space, and they rush up and try and shut England down.
Well, you can see the tactics, the discussion that England had at half-time, Cave.
England have got to think about playing through South Africa. Don't try to go around them like they are. It's almost fool's gold out wide to try to keep throwing the ball, particularly the long passes. You've got to get flat, close, and run, and that's where they're missing Sinclair the most.
Kitshoff coming on the field, as is Vincent Koch.
Wow, this is really early for a change. I would have thought you'd get at least another 7, 8, 9 minutes and finish with a real bang.
Big changes for South Africa. So Mel Herber is off. Tendai Mtawarira, 117th appearance. Victor Matfield still the most capped player for South Africa, 127 test. Ryan Abena 124 and Mtawarira on 117.
Box scrum left side. Damien Dialende 3 times so far tonight off the scrum.
Crush! Bye! Sit!
Again, the big shove coming from the Springboks. Again, they earn the penalty. Oh, they are dominating the set piece.
Many would argue that that front row that's on at the moment, Marks, Kitshoff and Koch, is the strongest scrummaging Springbok front row.
And it's probably why they use them in that way. Kearns, you get a lot of scrums towards the end of matches, and important scrums and big scrums that can lead to match-turning moments, and the bench knows it, the coaches know it, the spectators know it. Andre Pollard with a chance to extend the lead.
I suspect that the strategy there was, we'll leave that existing front row on until the first scrum. And then as soon as that first scrum's packed, then away you go. It could have been 10 minutes, could have been 3 minutes, could have been 15.
People say you couldn't coach rugby, Kearnsey. What a great idea.
What a great effort by the forwards coach for South Africa, Matt Proudfoot. He's put in some work and is getting the results in the one that matters, the final. So here's Pollard to try and stretch the lead, and this one is going to hold its line. It's over. Francois Pienaar, happy with that.
Francois Pienaar, he knows there's a long way to go in this match, but at the start of this Rugby World Cup, a lot of people will ask who's going to be one of the most important players. Most people said Andre Pollard if he can get to the final.
$15 points to 6. That was the final score in the last final these two teams played, 2007. South Africa winning that one as well.
Joe Marler's out there now for England.
Taken by May. Long way to go in this one, but England just have to try and gain some momentum, earn some momentum, as Marks is all over the ball. Bonapola takes the direct route. Young's to Ford. Now it's George.
Oh, look, they got him.
It's a maul, and it's not coming out of there. South Africa will get the put in.
Peter Steph Toy, number 7. Such a tall player, and he does it all the time in Super Rugby as well. Dialende, both Dialende and Steph Toy. What a turnover.
Well, Dialende is about 6'3" or 4" as well. Well over 100 kilos, so he's no midget.
England just can't get into their rhythm. Prince Harry looks on, he's nervous next to Sir Bill Beaumont.
7.5 gone to the second half. Again, South Africa get the penalty.
It was a much better scrum from England.
Yeah.
Joe Marler did wonderfully well on the loose head side. And there you can see Kitsoff go to ground. As we said earlier, Garces makes decisions early in matches about who has the dominant scrum, and he follows the script. Springboks lucky.
I know what you're saying, Rod, but surely a referee has to judge a scrum on its merit.
Marler really fought hard there. They really dug deep, that England front row.
So Marks. Now it's not coming out of there, and so England deliver.
Well, you heard on the referee's mic, I think it was Itoje. Itoje said, kill it, which means they had him up high. Itoje comes through the middle.
There's a little knock on there.
Sorry?
But it was Itoje that was in there doing the hard work.
Ben Young's trying to get some encouragement from his team, get them into the match. This is probably the right call, I think. George Ford leaving, hasn't had the happiest game forward. Henry Slade on for him. So Owen Farrell will move into fly half.
Keep working stronger.
Owen Farrell will be at 10. There he is there, number 12, and he's back. Owen Farrell, and Henry Slade will be at inside centre.
What they've lacked and what they've missed, England, is go forward from their back line. They haven't been able to find a way to get across the advantage line.
Wow, that's a better scrum from England.
Well, Ben Youngs wanted that to play on. Why didn't Garces let it play on? Now that could change the course of the game.
Farrell's going to have a shot from 40 out, 16 in from touch.
They knew how important that scrum was. Tom Curry, number 6.
This is the 9th Rugby World Cup, and there's only been 16 try scorers in the whole of those. That's 1 per team per match. So they're not high try scoring affairs. Defence wins these things. And the defence from both teams has been superb.
Farrell 2 from 2. He's already brought up 900 test points now. A rare club of test stars who've scored 900 or more. Oh, it's nice. Never looked like missing.
Such an important kick.
Now England are in touch. Behind by 6 points. A converted try will get them in front. Jamie George trying to encourage his team. The Itoje as well.
15 points to 9. The Itoje, a good lift, a good take.
No, no, no. In. Go, go, go. Spirit, go, go.
Ben Youngs. From Buelan. Taken by Underhill. On halfway. kits off. De Klerk and LaRue. Good take. Elliot Daly. Otoje.
Leave it now, Green. Move. Okay, good job. Stay. Stay.
Farrell. Looking for distance. Back to Pollard. Ankle tap by Watson. Penalty to England. Holding on is the call.
You talk about turning points in test matches. The ankle tap from Anthony Watson. Pollard just slipped a little bit in his footing. There's the ankle tap, and then allows Tom Curry to pounce.
Captain is clear. No, the TMO check.
You would say that Owen Farrell will go for 3 points, but gee, you'd be tempted to go for touch. You'd be so tempted.
I don't know, Tim. You've got a little bit of momentum. Farrell is a good enough kicker to have this at his 75 to 80% range. If you go to the corner, the Springboks are a tough team to drive over, aren't they? But it's a tough kick in with a bit of breeze. It's a big call from the skipper.
Good call, Romain.
A lot of kickers struggled early in the tournament with the ball, and they've worked themselves into it. He's striking it beautifully.
You did a really good job.
Another big moment in the 2019 Rugby World Cup final. Farrell. Out to the right. It stays 15-9.
Well, if Farrell now playing at fly half at first receiver, he has to start to dictate the play for England. That man there, get his hands on the ball and start to get some forward runners, start to get Manu Tuolangi into the play.
Comes up for South Africa. Leolondo floating with the touchline, does well to stay in. Now de Klerk and Mostert over halfway. Billy LaRue sending Daly back. And Mapimpi puts some pressure on, and that's a pretty ordinary kick into touch. So a net gain there for South Africa.
Captain, backlifter on the same line.
Billy Vunipola just lost it off the restart. I tell you what they're doing well, though, the Springboks. They're putting Billy LaRue in at first receiver on the left-hand side of the field because of his left foot.
And Tim, crucially, a left footer in the fullback, Elliot Daly, so force him to kick against the grain.
So de Klerk, they line up behind Vermeulen.
Interesting move.
And they get the penalty advantage. Very kickable as well. Pollard out to Colby, limited opportunity. Opportunities for Colby, he's into touch, but they'll come back for the penalty, which is very kickable.
Oh, you don't see a rolling maul very often. There's not much that Cole could do about that.
When you watch the setup, there was 6 forwards all together. Off the line out, they went wide right, and then the forwards just sat there.
13 white, offside.
Manu Tuolangi was the player deemed offside.
There's Malcolm Marks. Got on a little earlier than normal because of the injury to Bongi Mbanambi. So Pollard looking to give South Africa more breathing space again. $18 points to 9. The Springboks in front.
I've been watching the South African bench, and it's only just happened that Lud de Jager has come back out to sit sideline. He's been in a world of hurt down there with that shoulder. He came off early.
Vermeulen takes it. And it's play on. South African claiming that he was taken in the air. Coming in from the side. Now it's a penalty to England.
Timing is good. 16 clear from the side. Timing is good. Timing is good. 16 clear from the side.
So 22 minutes left in the match. Train Vermeulen has been very good at the back for the Springboks under the high ball.
Good timing, 16 clear from the side.
Malcolm Marx penalised from coming into the side of the maul, of the ruck.
Well, and the South Africans complaining that Vermeulen was still in the air when he got hit. Touch and go on that one.
(20 and 16), getting ready for England. Luke Cowan-Dickie and also Mark Wilson. Owen Farrell, and he sneaks it through. Fourth penalty for Farrell. It's 18-12. South Africa leading England.
Replacement also for the Springboks. R.G. Snowman onto the field. And good performance from Jamie George all the way through this tournament. The young hooker.
For Napola. Good take. Ben Youngs. Good chase, good defence. Vermeulen really couldn't do much about that. Into touch he goes.
Johnny May, some good defence, and now England, you're 60 metres out. It's a really good platform to attack from off this line out.
Luke Cowan-Dickie, the replacement hooker.
All England forwards on the ground, bar one.
Colby. Taken by May. De Toy.
No, leave it. Overstanding. You don't support your body weight.
De Klerk. May waits and takes it.
Oh, Vermeulen had a crack there, just missed it.
Here's Cruz.
No, leave it green. Okay.
Farrell, flat pass to Alangi. Well marked. Farrell to the air. Billy LaRue safe. Gets off.
No, over the rush. One. Yeah. Use it. The ball.
Daly takes it. And he's driven back.
It's a flag out. Far side.
Remain Poit. The assistant referee has spotted something.
I think a South African player got taken off the ball.
14, white, change his lane and hit the players with the shoulder without the ball. 11, penalty there.
Okay. Obstruction by 14, white.
Penalty to South Africa. Goes against Simona Tuolangi.
One of the chasers from the Springboks just there gets taken out.
Yeah. Good call, Romain.
Well, it's Watson.
He changed his line.
Taking out Mapimpi.
So, an opportunity for good field position for South Africa.
I'll tell you what, they'd love to have...
No, they're going to have a shot.
They'd love to have Francois Steyn on the field. He was kicking them from 55 metres out in the warm-up. He's on the bench. But Andre Pollard wants to have a crack.
He's at plenty this distance on the high veld.
Yeah. Okay, thanks.
Just not certain. Got a little bit of the breeze behind him, but it's only a puff now. Hardly anything. If anything, it's going slightly across the field. Need to start it probably on the right, upright, try to draw it in if he can. Just the smallest amount of breeze.
Oh, shocker.
Not his best kick. England put it into touch. It stays 18 points to 12.
Right on halfway.
That probably would have been the call from his skipper, Sia Khaleesi. And maybe a message from the coach to have a shot. But you can put that ball into the 22 and you can keep the pressure on England.
Khaleesi off. Francois low on. Khaleesi's had a good game.
Great opportunity for Sia Khaleesi. Port Elizabeth, just outside of Port Elizabeth, he was born and went to Grey College. Can he be the skipper to hold the cup up?
What a moment that would be in his 50th Test match. So Pollard goes high now. Pimpy goes high. Who wants it? Big moment again. It goes South Africa's way.
They're tough to call those because both players at the same position had it. So both players didn't want to roll away.
Both players in the same time attacking team scrum. Is the law.
The referee's 100% right on law. Can't determine it. It goes to the attacking team. Certainly the team going forward. If you can't determine that, the attacking team. Now the Springboks get another opportunity. Likely to see Dialendi going forward. If it comes out at all, they'll be looking for a penalty. Vermeulen will want to keep it in and keep the pack going forward. Can they do it again? England have been good in recent scrums.
Dialendi. So England will have to watch their discipline here. Mostert. Marks trying to run over the top of Slade. Here's Snyman. Pollard. Gets up, goes again. Little chip this time from LaRue. Daly has it. Vunipola. England at the wrong end at the moment. LaRue, he's been safe, he's been good. And now Mapimpi kicking over the top. They need a bounce, they get it, back it goes to Mapimpi, and it is a try to South Africa. Makazole Mapimpi has done it.
Is in for the kicker or not?
What a pass from The referee just wants to have a bit of a look. Jerome Garces. He might go upstairs here.
Oh, the crowd's gone mental.
And 13, if he was in front or not from that.
You hear asking him the pass and the player in front, yes or no?
We're checking to see if was in front.
To confirm on-field decision is try, we are now going to show you the passes, and then we will show you the position of green 13. Here are the two passes.
What do you want?
Ben Skeen, TMO. He's okay there. Arms behind the kicker is
That's the
Mapimpi.
best angle for you.
Is it for you? It's nothing clear and obvious.
For me, nothing clear and obvious. Stay with your on-field decision.
Okay.
Wow, the Springboks go over.
Try to South Africa. 14 tries in 14 test matches for Makazole Mapimpi. His 6th of the Rugby World Cup.
The ball from though, out of the hands. Could have scored himself. Quick hands. What's number 13, on the right? Stays in behind, gets his pass. Youngs is following and just flicks it out. And England are shocked in this second half. Mapimpi. He used to walk 10 kilometres to and from school when he was a youngster. Dreamt of being a Springbok.
And Pollard, he adds the extras. 25 points to 12.
We've known for so long that the outside backs of the Springboks have game. They can play. We've seen them do it again and again and again. And Rassie Erasmus has brought it to the final.
Mapimpi, he becomes the fastest Springbok to reach 14 tries. So anyway, it falls for England now. And it's probably now or never for England. The form team out of the semi-final weekend. Youngs is having a run. Almost intercepted by Colby. He'll be called back, Cheslin Colby.
13.
If he controlled that, there was no...
Yeah, he tried to catch the ball.
There was no catching him. Colby, he's related to Wade van Niekerk, the 400-metre gold medalist from South Africa at the Rio Olympics. They both played in the same rugby team at primary school. I pity the opposition.
I reckon he's probably just as quick as him too. So that's not a penalty because you're actually going for an intercept. If the ball is knocked down on purpose, it's a penalty.
So South Africa finally score a try in a Rugby World Cup final. They've won 2 from 2. And they're in the box seat to make it 3 from 3.
Francois Steyn on the field. He's the only player to be part of that 2007 Rugby World Cup win for the Springboks.
Francois Steyn, he's 16 from 16 in Rugby World Cup matches. What a record. Youngs finds Wilson.
Leave it! Leave it, tackler.
So advantage being played here for England. They've got 11 minutes. They take it quickly. Watson. 6 metres out. Maro Toje.
We need to check here if there is a knock on by White.
Checking to see if there was a knock on by England. It was a knock on. The referee got the call from the television match official.
To do the control of the ball on the tackle.
Yeah, he went to shift the ball across one to the Toji.
I'm not sure, but he loses the control of the ball.
Nice run from Watson on the right. Hasn't had a lot of ball. Little in and away, and watch his spin here. Got around Steyn. The Springboks can smell the victory. It's in grass now, the cup. England have to be the next to score, have to score something.
Plenty of time left, Tim, and they're at the right end of the field. The Springboks scrum has been great, but England had some really good moments. They'd love to apply some pressure now. The hands, the pace, the deft chip from Mapimpi, the gather and the release from Arm. What a try. Plenty of time left for England. 2 converted tries, and they steal it. Don't go anywhere.
In South Africa, they haven't beaten England outside South Africa since 2014. Neutral territory here, and they're in the box seat. Lucanio
Well, they were so disappointed,
11 white.
South Africa, for missing out on the 2023 Rugby World Cup. It's going to France. They wanted to make a statement here at this Rugby World Cup.
Jonathan Joseph coming on, and he's going to be replacing Johnny May. Massive scrum coming up here, Phil.
It is a huge scrum. England have started to see their scrum perform a little better in this second half. Can they put enough pressure on now? I suspect the South Africans will just sink into this one. It'll be hard for the South Africans to get the ball out to any depth.
Faf's doing his best to try to milk it for as long as he can. He's trying to pick up a free kick for England pushing early. He knows England wants to go. Watch Marler on this loose head side against Koch. It's a great battle. It's wasting time. It's playing in the Springbok hands. Referee needs to ask Faf to put it in.
De Allende. South Africa, they lost their opening pool game to New Zealand. But they regroup. And here they are, looking to be the first team to lose a pool game and go on and win the Webb Ellis Cup.
This is England's chance now, off this line out. Got to score in the next 2 or 3 minutes off this phase. Farrell at fly half. Tuolangi midfield.
Cruz down to Youngs. Farrell, here's Tuolangi now. And good ball and all tackle from De Allende. Cowan Dickey, solid hit from Koch over the top. Farrell. Daly.
Knocked on.
Yeah, turnover. Colby. Back to Stain. He thumps it. So Farrell. Nothing happening for Henry Slade.
Leave it green.
Wonapola back to Cruz.
Leave it.
Farrell. And Joseph. Again, the Springboks are making their tackles. De Allende on that occasion. Cruz. Marler. Inside ball. Cowan Dickey gets it back to Wilson. Oh, and there's the mistake that the South Africans were looking for. Du Toit, Cheslin Colby putting on some footwork. Colby! What a try! Sensational in Yokohama.
Unbelievable for the Springboks. Francois Pienaar, the former Springbok captain who lifted the World Cup in 1995. And it's going back to South Africa. That man there, the captain, Siya Kolisi, will be the third Springbok captain to lift Rugby World Cup. John Smith in 2007. And the defence has been unbelievable. Malcolm Marx, what a shot.
Oh, Malcolm Marx, he's been terrific since he's been on. They've all been terrific. Look at Colby. If you can't score on the left wing, we'll score on the right wing. Oh, he had 5 blokes that were coming across the England defenders to cover him. None of them touched him.
It's a great moment for a great little man to score a big, big try. Look at the bench. They're right next to me. I can tell you they are losing it. They were absolutely gone, as was the former skipper.
What a moment for Springbok rugby. Cheslin Colby seals it. What a shock. Everyone thought England after their performance against the All Blacks. And the Springboks have gone bang.
And just for good measure, Pollard adds another 2.
It's a great message about this game of rugby. Whether you're 6'10", whether you're 4 foot nothing, whether you're big, you're fat, you're skinny, there's a spot for you on a rugby field. Cheslin Colby, the smallest bloke on the field, the size of the ball boys. Oh, and they're away again.
Lucanio, The Springboks want to drive the nail in now. There's Pollard. Oh, Mapimpi got an awkward bounce. It's there for Watson. 2 tries to none. 32 points to 12. Farrell, Joseph. Cowan, Dickey. Oh, and then a knock on as Mapimpi was searching for the intercept.
They've been all over Manu Tuolangi here tonight. And Dialende in the centres have been, their defence has been outstanding right across the field, the Springboks, and it sets the example of the Springbok supporters. Now they can cheer.
They would have been a little concerned when the Springboks lost their first pool game, but gee, they've built nicely throughout. And Vermeulen, player of the match. No argument with that, but I tell you what, there's been some good performances by South Africa right across the 23-man squad.
How happy
de Klerk. Oh, yeah, quarter-final man of the match against Japan. All smiles.
And he's leaving the field. He'll get a standing ovation from the Springbok supporters. Faf de Klerk plays for the Sales Sharks in the UK Premiership.
Oh, yeah. Springbok supporters here in Yokohama. No doubt right around Australia as well.
And again, one of the smallest players on the field, the second smallest player on the field. He's like a little Shetland pony running out there amongst the draft horses.
So Herschel Jantjies. Can they put a bit of icing on the cake here? It's been a Erasmus masterclass. Eddie Jones will have to wait for another opportunity to head coach
field goal coming, Pollard.
And Pollard from in front. No good. So we're going to come back to the 22.
Well, Kay, if you're close to it on the sideline, I can see all the reserves, the replacements, they're all up. The guys that have played for the Springboks, they cannot believe it.
Oh, out in the full. It's all falling apart.
What a play from Cheslin Colby then. Gave it the fake take through the air, the jump, pretend to catch, turned his back. Coaching staff on their feet, the engraver. It's on. It's done. It's all over. 2 to go.
12-6 at half-time. 2 converted tries in the second half. 1 to Mapimpi, 1 to Colby. The 2 wingers.
Well, everyone spoke about through the week that the Springboks will have to change their game plan to beat this England team. And they have. They've got width in their game. They've got both wingers involved. Villy LaRue's moved in to first receiver. They've got their back 3 involved, and their defence has been absolutely outstanding. Defence wins big matches.
It's been a wonderful defensive effort by South Africa. And Pollard, what a tournament he's had. Jantjies to Snyman out the back, falls nicely for Jantjies, and now it is Koch. Jantjies. Mostert. Inside the final minute, Rugby World Cup 2019 decider. 6 wonderful weeks. North versus South. South is going to do it again. England, they've beaten Argentina, Australia and New Zealand, looking for the Southern Slam, but not tonight in Yokohama. Magnificent defensive effort, first of all from South Africa. Then they took their opportunities and scored the 2 tries in the second half. Countdown to full time. Into the stands it goes. South Africa, world champions for the 3rd time. Still unbeaten in Rugby World Cup finals. They won it in 95, 2007. They've won it in 2019 as their president looks on with Prince Harry. Siya Kolisi. He'll be the 3rd Springbok captain to lift the Webb Ellis Cup. John Smith did it in 2007. Francois Pienaar did it in 1995. There's John Smith. Celebrations for South Africans right around the world. I know we've got plenty of them in Australia as well. I trust you've enjoyed it on Fox Sports. No joy for England. South Africa, they join New Zealand as the only country to win the Webb Ellis Cup 3 times. Full time at Yokohama in the final. South Africa 32, England 12.
A great rugby story, a great sporting story. We saw the images there of Siya Kolisi being embraced by his teammates. That captain for the Springboks grew up with nothing in an impoverished township of Port Elizabeth in South Africa. Tonight, he's on top of the world. Stu Barnes, Stephen Hoyles and Justin Harrison here. It is an incredible story. He was picked up by talent scouts at the age of 12. His mother passed away when he was just 15 years of age, brought up by his grandmother with nothing, and now on top of the world as captain of the Springboks.
Absolutely. I questioned whether technically he was right for this one before the game, but he had a magnificent match. He was their leader, and South Africa did... They followed Rassie Erasmus's orders. They followed their man on the pitch. A magnificent effort from South Africa and their captain.
John Smith said earlier in the week that if they win tonight, it would be bigger than 1995, that Rainbow Nation victory of unification of Nelson Mandela and Francois Pienaar, because of this being the first black captain to lead the Springboks. It is not just a great rugby story, but a wonderful human story tonight, Stephen.
That's a huge statement from John Schmidt, and he's captained the World Cup winning side before, so... He also said pre-game that South Africa were going to try and target the England scrum, so he had a bit of intel. They did that, and it's an incredible story. This is a side that 18 months ago, they were struggling to find their identity. They were trying to play a new way of rugby, which was exciting to watch. It was very similar to the Lions in Johannesburg because they were successful in Super Rugby. Rassie Erasmus came in, didn't think it was successful style of footy at Test footy. He's taken them back to what works for them. They still can play with a bit of flair, but it was the brute force and strength and power of the South African forwards, Justin.
Yeah, and you compare the game leaders from each camp. Look at the impact that Vermeulen had, Etzebeth, Malcolm Marks, Faf de Klerk, Pollard, all of them played instrumental roles in executing their basics and doing their jobs very well for the team. Conversely, you look at England, multiple back-to-back errors from some of their game leadership group. That is telling, and this is history in the making. This is much more powerful than what you're seeing in the arena here. You have a whole nation, 57 million people.
Okay, we are standing by for our first interview. This is with the England captain, Owen Farrell. Let's take you now.
Owen Farrell, I know it's still pretty raw for you. Do you feel like you're always chasing that game tonight?
Oh, we didn't start it well. Probably had a disappointing first half, but you know, I'm proud of this group. I'm proud of what we've done, how far we've come over the course of this tournament. It showed with the fight that we had in the second half, but credit to South Africa, they were very good today.
Just tell me, how much has this team grown throughout Japan 2019?
Yeah, massively. Not just throughout that, but the time we spent together over the course of the preparation for this as well. Yeah, and as I said, I'm massively proud to be part of this team.
And what do you want to say?
Yeah, first of all, I'd just like to thank all the English support back home and here. You've been unbelievable, and your support means a lot. And secondly, to Japan for hosting a fantastic tournament. We've loved it.
You've been outstanding ambassadors. I know you didn't get the win tonight, but congratulations on the tournament.
Thank you very much.
Very difficult for him to do that interview. His dream obviously shattered tonight, as well as the rest of his team. They thought they were a red-hot chance to win that World Cup tonight, but they weren't good enough. The Springboks outclassed them. Let's hear now from the South African captain, the man of the moment, Siya Kolisi.
Well, we're here with the winning captain from South Africa, Siya Kolisi. Siya, just tell me, when the final whistle went, what were your first thoughts?
I was just grateful. I was grateful for everything that the team has been through. You know, we faced a lot of challenges, but you know, the people of South Africa have gotten behind us, and we are so grateful to the people of South Africa. And you know, we have so many problems in our country, but to have a team like this, we know we come from different backgrounds, different races, and we came together with one goal, and we wanted to achieve it. I really hope that we've done that for South Africa, to show that we can pull together if we want to work together and achieve something.
Couldn't have said it any better, Cap. Just to the game, how important was it for you guys as a team to lay a physical marker early?
That's why we have a 6-2 split, to make sure that we go out physically, and they knew that that's what we wanted to do. You know, our coach doesn't hide it, and yeah, and from the minute go, we wanted to have a good start, because we know that's what they were chasing. So the boys, that's why some guys' shoulders were off, you know, early contact. So yeah, but they were amazing today. They challenged us to the best.
I know you touched on it just a little bit earlier, but in a country where rugby's a religion, what does this mean?
Man, I have never seen, since I've been alive, I've never seen South Africa like this. You know, obviously in '95, what the World Cup did for us, you know, and now, you know, with all the challenges we're having, you know, the coach just came in and told us the last game, we're not playing for ourselves anymore, we're playing for our people back home, you know, and that's what we wanted to do today, and we really appreciate all the supports, people in the taverns, people in the shebeens, you know, people in farms, some homeless people, there were screens there, and people in rural areas. Thank you so much. We appreciate all the support. We love you, South Africa, and we can achieve anything if we work together as one.
Absolutely inspirational words. Congratulations, Skip.
Thank you so much. And lastly, thank you so much to the people of Japan, the people that came from England as well. Thank you so much for supporting the sport of rugby. Thank you to World Rugby for bringing rugby here. We appreciate you all. Arigato gozaimasu. Thank you.
What a brilliant leader, Kolisi there. Talked about the people in the taverns. Last time South Africa won a World Cup, he watched it via a television screen in a tavern. His family obviously did not have a television in their home, and he knows so many people have a similar background. Let's hear now from the coach.
Springbok coach, Rassie Erasmus. No team has ever dropped a pool game and gone on to win the Rugby World Cup. How were you able to mastermind that tonight?
Oh, I just think the boys believed in themselves, you know. We're a bunch of guys that have been together for 19 weeks. We know one another really well. We've got so much respect for England. We really prepared well. and I think we fought right till the end, and I'm so proud of them. And yeah, we just, I think, also a little bit fortunate, but yeah, we're really enjoying it at this stage.
When you first took over the Springbok appointment, for you, what was the first thing you needed to identify to think, right, this is what we need to get to the top of the world at the Rugby World Cup?
No, just use our players and use our, you know, the intelligence we have in South Africa and the supporters we have and all the resources. And there's so many good things in South Africa, but we always, in the past, seem to look at all the bad things. And we just decided, listen, let's stand together and work really hard and play well on the field, and all the other things will then, from that, come out later. And I think that's what we did. And eventually now we've won the World Cup, so that's great.
I'll leave the last word for you. What would you like to say to all the Springbok supporters here and at home?
I first would like to say thank you to Japan for the way they've hosted the World Cup. And then to the Springbok supporters, you know, I'd just like to say we never felt alone here in Japan. We felt them all the way, and not just the supporters here in Japan, but also those back home. All the messages, all the, you know, the WhatsApps, all the Facebook, the Twitter feeds. You know, we know there's millions there, and we know they support us, and we love them. We can't wait to get back home.
Congratulations, coach. Go enjoy with the team.
We'll do that. Thank you very much.
We spoke a lot about Eddie Jones, Justin Harrison before the match, but that coaching performance was impeccable.
Yeah, Rassie Erasmus, clearly a man with a plan as well, and in such a short amount of time has managed to bring a group of players together who are all picked on merit. We know the history of what South Africa has been through, and we know that they've got so much more to go through, but that is a huge leap forward for the nation of South Africa.
Khaleesi was spotted, the captain, as a 12-year-old, given a scholarship to go to Grey High School. His father has watched him tonight. The first time he's seen him play overseas, that's Richie McCaw, the great All Black, who'll hand over that Webb Ellis Cup tonight. To see a Khaleesi, what a moment in rugby history.
What a moment for Khaleesi. McCaw, one of the greats of all time. 7 to 6, but open side to open side. And it's intriguing today, isn't it? You know, we always talk about New Zealand, and they are the great rugby nation of modern times. But South Africa have superseded them as the great World Cup team right now, because they've matched New Zealand with 3 wins. But South Africa, you have to recall, didn't play in '87 and '91 when they were banned from the tournament. They've won 3 World Cups in 7 attempts. It's an astonishing effort.
And 2 tries tonight. Here's Eddie Jones.
Eddie Jones, England coach. Coach, did you just feel you were a little bit off balance tonight?
Yeah, well, we just struggled to get in the game. The effort of the players was outstanding, but we just struggled to get on the front foot today.
I suppose it's one game doesn't make a bad team, does it? You must be immensely proud of this group and what they've achieved.
Oh, look, I can't fault the preparation of the players. They've worked hard the entire World Cup, and I think they've played with a lot of pride and passion. We just weren't good enough today, and congratulations to South Africa on an outstanding performance.
And I know you always enjoy being back in here in Japan. I know you've involved some of the players in the Japanese traditions. What would you like to say to the country?
Oh, I think Japan's put on a fantastic World Cup. Yeah, it's been well attended. The crowds have been terrific. The organisation's first class. Arigato gozaimashita.
Class act as always, Coach. Thank you very much.
He knows a bit about Japan. He coached them as well to that wonderful victory over South Africa. But how far removed it is from this evening when Stephen Hoyles, the Springboks, are triumphant. Their 3rd World Cup, matching only the All Blacks in that achievement.
This is remarkable, this World Cup. I don't think many people gave them the chance. I think, honestly, only the South African and a few wise punters out there really thought South Africa could do it. Based on their first game, they were unsuccessful against New Zealand. They played well in the first 20 minutes of that game, but they were well beaten by New Zealand that day. They've had good competition since then, but last weekend against Wales, if you're judging from that semi-final performance, and that's probably where all of us here are guilty, looking at how England played against New Zealand, we just assumed that they could do the same thing again, and no one expected the South African defence to be as strong as it was.
It was such a dour performance from South Africa in the semi-final, but they found another gear, and we saw that with the 2 tries to the wingers, Stu.
We did, but first of all, briefly, the defence. We've got to give Japan some credit. Nobody realises now just how good Japan were in this tournament, because they gave the world champions a hell of a game for 40 minutes in the quarter-final. And South Africa won that game, and it looked easy in the end because they held Japan out. Their defence was absolutely magnificent. Today, they came up with 2 tries, but, you know, by then, the momentum was theirs. Pollard was on the front foot, and it was defence and set piece dominated.
And dominated largely by that forward foundation, and one of them's the player of the game.
Well, the MasterCard player of the match for this one, South African number 8, Dwayne Vermeulen. Dwayne, just tell me, how big was that battle in the loose tonight?
Yeah, thank you very much. I must say, we know England had two fantastic young fetchers, Underhill and Curry, and they've been superb this whole tournament. And we know we had to do something at the breakdown. And yeah, I think in a way we got a few turnovers, they got a few, and yeah, fantastic to walk away with this win.
A lot of hard yards done up front, especially at scrum time. That was a real weapon for you tonight, wasn't it?
Yeah, it's fantastic. We've got a good bunch of forwards. The starters, the bomb squad, as they're known, and yeah, they've made a fantastic impact off the bench, and it just, yeah, it's fantastic to lay that platform for the guys, and you know, get the opportunities and get the advantage in penalties.
Just tell me, you look like a very tight unit as a whole squad. I mean, what's the secret behind that, do you think?
You know, we're doing it for each other, but we're also doing it for 57 million people back home in South Africa. And you know, in a way, we wanted to be consistent as a team and try to achieve something, and in a way, trying to create hope in the end. So hopefully we can we achieve that goal tonight.
We can't end it on any better. Absolutely fantastic. We'd just like to invite the trophy for the MasterCard player of the match, and a hug to Dwayne Vermeulen.
Yeah, classy contribution there from the number 8. Also inspirational words from their captain. This is a win of great significance, Stu.
Hey, it's a World Cup final. Yes, it is a win of great significance.
But beyond that, this is not just your everyday win.
No. It's a World Cup final win, and that is, of all things said, it's still the essence, and it's critical for South Africa because it is a troubled country, and it will do a great deal for them. Politics will take over again, but for a little while there's going to be joy and celebration. And what Khaleesi's done, the way he's pulled people of all colours together, you know, even the homeless he's talking about, that tells you about hope, and Vermeulen used that word twice. So great credit to the Springboks.
And that image there says it all. He, as we said earlier, Khaleesi came from nothing. He knows what millions of his fellow countrymen live with, exist in. This is hope, even if it is, you know, as Stu suggested, might be short term, but it gives them some hope.
That's the power of sport. You know, for a brief moment, you have the ability to put smiles on people's faces, and that's what makes it so empowering. And in South Africa, they're a very religious team as well. So some nice touches here as we see Michael Leach and Richie McCaw. And that'll be a huge moment for Khaleesi receiving this World Cup from probably the greatest ever, Richie McCaw.
Let's now head back to our commentary team, Greg Clark and Tim Horn.
So the great Richie McCaw about to deliver the Webb Ellis Cup onto the podium here. He was driven around the Yokohama International Stadium by Michael Leach, the captain of Japan. Bill, as we like to call the Cup in Australia, is heading to South Africa.
What a moment for the Springboks, and also in the 9 Rugby World Cups, Southern Hemisphere have won 8. Northern Hemisphere only one, which was England in 2003 in Australia. It will change people's lives, it will change the players' lives, it will change everyone who supports sport in South Africa.
Sir Bill Beaumont, the champion of World Rugby, he'll be delighted with the way that this tournament has unfolded in Japan. The Crown Prince, very proud of his nation. Shinzo Abe, the Prime Minister, have had to endure a typhoon that caused the cancellation of 3 matches, but it's loss of life and a lot of destruction in Japan. But somehow the people of Japan have just managed to stand side by side and continue to do a wonderful job as they welcome people from right around the world. So the first Frenchman to ever control a World Cup final, Jerome Garces, heads up to collect a memento. Thiemo Ben-Skeen, assistant referee Romain Poit, and also Ben O'Keefe. Well done to Jerome Garces. He's going to retire now. He's going to be the new referee boss in French rugby. Ben O'Keefe, we're going to see a lot more of the New Zealander. Ben-Skeen, the television match official. So they got through the final okay. Nigel Owens there as well. Paul Williams from New Zealand and Angus Gardner from Australia, one of the sideline officials. Angus was the World Referee of the Year in 2018. Who will it be in 2019? Crowd staying around as well, Tim.
Well, the refereeing got better as the tournament went on. The TMOs were less involved later in the tournament, and Owen Farrell is skipper. He'd be absolutely shattered. There was so much expectation on this England team in the last 6 days as Prince Harry looks on.
Well, Owen Farrell, 28 years of age, 83rd Test match, his second Rugby World Cup. Captain now for 19 Test matches. They were brilliant against New Zealand.
That was probably their final against the All Blacks in the semi-final. The best Test match I've ever seen England play. They just couldn't back it up in the final under enormous pressure from the Springboks.
Ben Young's now 97th Test for the scrum half and his third Rugby World Cup. They've been well supported, England. There's tears as well because there was so much expectation on the shoulders of Eddie Jones and his captain Owen Farrell and the entire squad.
Well, the big question mark is now Eddie Jones. He's signed for 2 more years with English rugby. He'd be bitterly disappointed. That man there, Manu Tuolangi, number 13, hardly touched the ball in the first half. Owen Farrell tried to get him involved in the second half. Henry Slade there. Tom Curry, Sam Underhill.
Must be hard also for the chairman, a great Englishman, Bill Beaumont. Marla forced his way back into the team. Had a lot of support from the locals as well in Japan. England had the most supporters. Sinclair, Kyle Sinclair, unfortunately forced from the field with concussion in the early minutes. Got back to 15-9 at one stage, but they just couldn't take the momentum away from South Africa.
Well, they were very nervous early on, England, and it's been a wonderful World Cup, supported by all the Japanese supporters, but also by over 10,000 volunteers around the last 7 weeks. And then they've got the Olympics here next year as well in Tokyo.
They've only had 1 win over South Africa in Rugby World Cup matches, and that was in pool play in 2003 when England went on to win the Rugby World Cup in Australia.
The good thing about this England team, they're still young. Itoje's young, so is Curry, Underhill, Eddie Jones. You can see how disappointed he is, especially after the way that England played in the semi-final.
So he lost the final in 2003 as head coach of Australia, and he's lost another one as head coach of England in 2019. Was assistant coach of South Africa when they won the World Cup in 2007.
He had a very good assistant coaches here as well. Scott Wisemantle from Australia was their attack coach. Steve Borthwick, the former Bath and England player, their forwards coach, and John Mitchell, the former All Black coach, was their defensive coach. There's Steve Borthwick, the forwards coach.
Six weeks of some wonderful rugby. No joy for the Vunipola brothers or the England fans. Officials still making their way onto the rostrum as Richard Hill, former England international team manager. And the man born in Tasmania, Australia, Eddie Jones. A smile there, but deep down, no doubt he'll be disappointed, and I think he'll be heading straight back to probably start planning for the next England Test match.
Oh, it's been a wonderful performance from Eddie Jones. Even in 4 years ago when he coached the Japanese team against the upset against this team, the Springboks. His last 4 years with England has been superb. What a moment this will be for Siya Kolisi, the skipper. This will unite the country.
The Springboks, they have created history. They've become the first team to lose a pool match and then go on to win the title. The captain, Siya Kolisi, 28 years of age, his 50th Test match tonight, 37th Springboks player to bring up 50 Test matches. Missed all of the Rugby Championship because of a knee injury, got back in the nick of time. He joins Francois Pienaar in '95 and John Smith in 2007 as successful South African captains.
Just saw Andre Pollard, who was second up, receiving his medal. He'd go close to player of the tournament, very significant in the last couple of matches. Quarter-final, semi-final, he was superb.
Man of the match there, Dwayne Vermeulen, who's going to stay on in Japan and play for Kubota. There's Faf de Klerk, hasn't he been good, especially in the knockout matches?
There's Cheslin. Oh, they'll be so excited for him. Cheslin Colby, what a try.
Gee, they're good fans too, South Africans. They've had lots to celebrate over the years.
Damien Dialende, he was very good in the final. A lot of carries, plenty of tackles as well, and actually got over the top of Manu Tuolangi.
Luke Diaga had to come from the field with that dislocated shoulder. Peter Steph du Toit, his grandfather, Pete du Toit, was a Springbok. What a proud moment for the du Toit family. Mel Herber. Francois Lowe, the third Rugby World Cup for the man from Bath.
How good was Kitsoff when he came off the bench? The redhead was brilliant in the scrum. What a moment, though, Clarkie, it's going to be for Francois Steyn. Was part of the World Cup winning team in 2007, all that time ago, Francois Steyn, and he'll pick up his second Rugby World Cup winner.
Mapimpi, 14 tries in 14 Test matches. Malcolm Marx.
And there's, just behind Malcolm Marx, there's Jesse Creel, who went away after tearing his hamstring, and they flew Jesse Creel back. They also flew Trevor Inyakani back as well.
It's a 31-man effort at the Rugby World Cup. Only 23 can play on match days, but there's 31 in the squad. Oh, yeah, the tears of joy are flowing for the Springbok fans. The beast, Tendai Mtawarira, born in Zimbabwe, but one of the great South African rugby players, 117 Test matches. So the Springboks are gathering on the podium.
There's Rassie Erasmus, you just saw with his medal around his neck. Hasn't he changed their game plan up in the last 6 days? Talking to him through the week, and we were laughing about he got so close to the drop goal from Stephen Larkham as a player when Stephen Larkham kicked the field goal in the semi-final in 1999. It touched his fingers. Rassie Erasmus.
Yeah, Rassie, supported by Matt Proudfoot, Msadili Stick, and also Jacques Nienaba. A masterclass from the master coach, Rassie Erasmus. And he'll continue on as Springbok coach.
He'd be saying here to Rassie, you've got to lift it up with me. Come with me.
Get set for the celebrations, South Africa. They become the first team to win the Rugby Championship and the World Cup in the same year as well. It's been a record-breaking night in Yokohama for the Springboks. They scraped home in the semi-final against Wales, but they saved something. They had plenty in the tank. They came out, they led 12-6 at half-time. And then a try to Mapimpi and Colby in the second half, and they closed it out 32-12.
Here it comes, Sia Khaleesi is going to receive the World Cup. The man from Grey College in South Africa. What a moment.
One of the great stories in rugby. South Africa, champions in 1995, 2007, and now 2019 in Yokohama, Japan. The Springboks.
Amazing scenes, and the World Cup will go back to South Africa. It'll be toured all around the country to schools, rugby clubs, and it will inspire a new generation of rugby players, boys and girls, right throughout South Africa.
Worthy champions. First team to lose a pool match and then go on and win the big one. England looking on. They just couldn't breach the South African defence on this night in Yokohama. Southern Hemisphere doing it again. The Webb Ellis Cup is heading back to South Africa. And we're heading back to the team in the studio. We hope you've enjoyed our coverage from Japan. It's been an absolute pleasure. Thank you for your company, Australia.
It really is a moment of history for South Africa in a rugby sense, but in a much broader sense. Nelson Mandela back in 1994 was told not to embrace the Springbok. It was a symbol of oppression, a symbol of apartheid. Well, he rejected that, and 25 years later we have a black captain lifting the World Cup for South Africa. This is quite a moment for rugby union in that country, but a moment that Sia Khaleesi wants and that team wants to reflect hope for a country which is beset by poverty, high unemployment, high crime rates. It's a country that is struggling on almost every marker, but tonight, some hope from their rugby team.
I was privileged to be at Ellis Park in 1995, the most emotional night of rugby coverage I've ever been involved in. Was there in 2007 when it was a bit of a cold performance. This looks pretty spectacular as well, because it's the continuity from 95. It's the Pienaar wearing number 6 to Khaleesi wearing number 6. It's the black captain and the black president, the black captain and the black president now. It's something quite special. Pienaar there as well. There's real continuity that just goes through the South African team. And let's also remember, you know, we sort of wrote them off. They were the rugby champions this year. They're now the world champions as well.
Some of the messages you heard from Khaleesi in that speech that he gave in the interview after the match, Stephen Hoyles, not the sort of language you'd expect in most football interviews. It was that of a leader, a rugby union leader, but a leader of his people too.
Yeah, his message was, you know, we're a very different group of people, different nationalities within this team, but we've come together for a common goal, and he almost challenged South Africa to do the same, to be able to work together to achieve something united. And if you've been fortunate enough to go to South Africa, Kieran, it's one of the most remarkable countries in the world. It is lots and lots of issues over there, but it is a beautiful country to visit. It's probably most rugby players' favourite destination to go to. Consistently full of wonderful people. They love their rugby, and this is a moment, as you see now, there's that Prime Minister down there on field, I think, at the moment with Rassie Erasmus. It's a special moment for Springbok and South African, the nation.
George Gregan and Phil Kearns at Yokohama Stadium. George Gregan, I know you played in front of the great man, Nelson Mandela. You think back to his vision his vision to embrace that team and that Springbok and what it represents. And 25 years on, it's a wonderful night for them.
Yeah, it's an incredible night for South African rugby. It's an incredible night for the nation. Yeah, and the word legacy gets used a lot these days, but the legacy of Mandiba, Nelson Mandela, he's such a proud man. He would be so proud looking down, seeing Sia Khaleesi wearing the number 6, holding aloft the William Webb Ellis Trophy, Kearnsey.
Oh, the emotion here is just amazing. It's just oozing out of everyone at this stadium. I was lucky enough to be in that first game when they came back from apartheid in 1992, and there was not one black man in that Springbok team back then. Now we've got a black man captaining the side, and it's an incredible emotion. Even the Poms here are cheering. They know that the better side won, and what a great captain. They're cheering him as well.
Phil, Eddie Jones was saying his team just couldn't get on the front foot today, very depressed. When he says he couldn't get on the front foot, do you think that starts at the scrum? We talk about all aspects of the game, but South Africa basically just destroyed them there.
Yeah, I said during the call that I think the South African training must have been very boring during the week, because all it seems that they did, they scrummed and they scrummed and they scrummed. And it paid off for them. They earned, 4 penalties from scrums there and gained dominance at other occasions. England could not get on the front foot. And, you just wonder if well, you can't predict what the opposition's going to do. You try to, but you can't get it right every time. And Eddie Jones may have, if he thought back at it, put Marler in the front row, who's probably a better scrummager, and change that around a little bit. But I think even if they did put Marler there, the Springbok scrum was awesome. Their forward pack are just amazing, in particular Vermeulen, but Etzebeth as well led the way. What a performance from that forward pack.
Oh, huge. It didn't help, of course, Kearnsey, with Sinclair going down so early and needing to bring, it was Cruz that came on at the tight head lock position, and it did turn things around. But being in that position, when you've had the psychological damage up front early in the game, that little annoying voice sits on your shoulder for the entire game. No matter what happens in the current moment, you always live in the past when your scrum gets dished like it did.
Yeah, there's no doubt that Sinclair was a massive loss, but let's not forget that they lost Mbonambi and Lutayega as well, and they rate Mbonambi as their best scrummager. Now, so, maybe South Africa were worse off, but we always knew that the one thing that probably South Africa had over England was the stronger bench, and that showed certainly around the forwards. Yeah,
and it was the next man up, wasn't it? And Marks comes on, and you were speaking before the game, you may have picked him in your starting team, but that was a strength. And everyone who came on lifted. Snyman came on and was huge. Everyone who came on for that Springbok team tonight played at another level to what the players who were on the field, and that was saying something.
George, something we're acutely aware of in the professional era now for rugby is the body shapes and the fact that people are getting bigger and more powerful. A lot of the conversation about the Springboks was how big they were and how powerful they were. Faf de Klerk and Cheslin Colby, two of the smallest people known to man in the world rugby circuit, probably changed the game tonight as well. That's a real case for inclusionary sport, isn't it? Everyone's got a position, everyone can play a role.
Yeah, well, rugby's all about inclusion, isn't it? It doesn't matter what shape or size or where you're from, there's a place for you in this 23 or 24, 25 man. If you're playing in a World Cup, a 32-man squad. So he was a classic example, and he didn't play last week in the semi-final. It was touch and go whether or not he played, but they managed it. They backed themselves to get through Wales and hold him back for the final. And what a smart play. And wasn't he electric? He didn't get many touches in the first half, but we saw his class in the second half, Kearnsey.
Oh, he was just amazing. There were 5 guys coming across and cover at him when he scored that try, and he just skipped through all of them. He was just incredible. But you're right, Gook. The game is all about inclusion. Little, tall, fat, skinny, doesn't matter what colour you are, where you're from. This game's about respect and about inclusion, and no matter all of those things, we respect you. You're part of this game.
And George Grigg and Eddie Jones, he put so much into this effort. It was 4 years, this effort, and he said he should be judged by the World Cup in the end. Not exactly as he hoped. He'd be hurting right now.
Yeah, he'll be gutted, Eddie. Like, we know he's a perfectionist. He doesn't want to go into finals. No one does, and come up short. You saw the disappointment and the pain on those English players. But unfortunately, that is the case in finals, and unfortunately you have to go through some scar tissue. A lot of these young players, we spoke about Underhill, we spoke about Tom Curry and the like, they'll be stronger because of this. and they'll be better because of this in 2023 in France. But yeah, I felt really sorry for Eddie, but at the same time I'm overjoyed for the Springboks and my mate John Smith, who I'm sure will be celebrating Springbok style a little bit later this evening.
In no way, shape or form should Eddie feel disgraced or embarrassed about that England performance. I thought, you know, up until tonight's game, England were the best team in the tournament, there's no doubt about it. Don't forget the Springboks lost their first game. So they've won the same amount of games in this tournament, these two teams. And everyone puts 4 years of effort into it. Eddie's effort was just as big as everyone else's, and he should not feel embarrassed or disgraced at all.
Yeah, and just quickly add to that, there's probably a little bit of what he said at the beginning of the game they weren't good at. They were inaccurate, they weren't doing the fundamentals well, and they just weren't clearing their half, and that made them chase the game. And it's really hard in any match, particularly in a World Cup final, to chase the game, and that's what they found themselves at half-time.
George, do you think they chased the game and made those errors because of the pressure from South Africa, or do you think there was a certain, even a tiny something, that maybe they were just too good against New Zealand and the self-belief was almost too great?
Yeah, well, I'm getting bits and pieces. It's so loud here, Stuart, but I got the crux of what you were saying. I think the box smothered them. They got in the arm wrestle, and England weren't allowed to actually find any rhythm. It was really hard to get over the advantage line. There's a moment around the 33-minute mark where they really pressured the Springbok defensive line, and they held on. I think if England got over there just before half-time, that would have been a huge, huge psychological edge, and also it was a battle of wills, and they hung in the fight, and that's what the Springbok rugby does in these types of contests, Phil.
Yeah, and I think also, Stu, I think what you ask, it is so loud here, it's unbelievable. But I think it's the English, perhaps, by winning that game by such a big margin in that semi-final, every newspaper, everything you'd read over here, what everyone was talking about, no matter everyone in the street, said that England were going to win this game. They thought it would be close. When they said close, you'd hear people anywhere from 3 to 15 points that England would win. And maybe that just got in their heads a little bit as well. And you're only human to let that happen sometimes, and it seems that may have happened here as well.
Phil Kearns, George Gregan, we'll talk to you again shortly there from Yokohama Stadium. We'll take a break and we'll be back with more reaction to the South African triumph in this Rugby World Cup. Triumphant coach, Rassie Erasmus, former player. He didn't win a World Cup as a player, he has as a coach. The third World Cup for South Africa in 7 attempts. Of course, they only re-entered the international fray in 1995, their first World Cup. They won it when they hosted it, and this is their third victory, Stu.
And if you want to argue and say defences don't win World Cups, let's just look at South Africa and their record, as Frans Steyn, who was there in 2007, celebrates. 3 World Cup finals, and they have not leaked a single try. I think that is a point made, Justin. Yeah,
well, we talk about defence wins championships, you know, attack wins games, defence wins championships, and that's evident. You know, but we need to remember also South Africans 2 tries, tellingly, basics done well, attacked the whole game, made sure they executed the fundamentals of rugby, winning scrum, winning line-outs and disrupting breakdown.
Also worth noting, Rassie Erasmus has only had this side for 2 years, and in the world that we live in, everyone thinks you need 4 years, you need 4 years to build for this campaign. He's flipped that on his head.
He did it in 2.
Michael Checker took the side to a final in 12 months, so the whole 4-year thing, maybe it's not the be-all and end-all.
Fair point. Let's go now to Rod Kafer with one of the keys to the South African attack tonight.
Cheslin, Colby and Kyler join me. What a thrill.
Yes, Kev, it's really amazing, and I just want to give glory to God for being with this team, with this unbelievable journey. People never gave us hope, and we just came together as a group and just believed in one another, and we just give all our faith and glory to God, because without him we're nothing, and he's pulled us through, and he's set up a lot of opportunities for us as a group and for players for coming in and coming out. And yeah, we just want to thank everyone back home, fans, players that's been here, that's been a part of this journey. We all did this for them.
You missed last week, the ankle. got back, and to score that last try must have been, for you, a real crowning moment.
Yeah, it's been frustrating not playing in the semi-final with the ankle injury. But as I said, I'm a firm believer God has plans for everyone in different ways. And I just gave my faith left up into God's hands, and He's pulled me through. He's healed my ankle coming for the final. And yeah, I can't be any thankful for that. And yeah, scoring the try was just phenomenal to top it off. Yeah, as a winger, you just want to exploit any opportunity that's in front of you and just capitalize on that.
Congratulations, you Rugby World Champion.
Yeah, it still didn't sunk in, but I'm probably sure that it will probably kick in a few minutes or a few hours. It's really unbelievable. I want to thank you, the whole of South Africa. We've worked hard for this gold and the Web Ellis Cup. Thank you so much.
Well done.
Thank you very much, Gav.
They've had some brilliant speedsters, haven't they, over the years? Habana, Colby, you'd have to say, Stephen Hall, nominated for World Player of the Year, and this should seal the deal, you would have thought.
Yeah, look, I hope so, because it's a great message for all those people out there that have been told they're too small to play rugby. And there is a lot of people out there telling a lot of young boys and girls they're too small to play rugby. And that's why they have players like Justin Colby on the field, because they play such a physical and combative style of rugby, South Africa. But when you get an opportunity, and there is maybe only one or two in a game, you need players with freakish ability to be able to do this. And he's quite simply the one-on-one, the most damaging winger in world rugby at the moment.
Poor old Owen Farrell didn't have a chance. The speed of that cut is something special. Before the game, we said it's that low centre of gravity that combines with the acceleration, makes him special. I'll tell you now, France would have been disappointed to have lost to Wales, but all of French rugby will be delighted because he has been an absolute star for Toulouse, and even Francois Pienaar is probably he's probably a little bit happier than some of the Frenchmen in Toulouse. But that guy is a hero in Toulouse. He is now a hero in all of South Africa.
Yeah, it probably makes us realise also this team's been brought together from various parts of the rugby playing world. They're not all just playing in South Africa, so it adds weight to the skill that Rassie Erasmus has been able to develop this group of men from all around different systems and different programs and different training abilities and different skill sets, and bring them together for a World Cup campaign. What an amazing achievement.
Let's hear from one of the foundations of the forwards. We've heard from one of the key backs. Here's one of the key forwards.
Up front tonight, it was all about the big boys. It was all about the 8, and they performed pretty well.
Yeah, no, it was a great performance, from the pack and overall from the whole team. I think we just kept on our processes. I think it has been something that we've been good at in the last couple of weeks. And so it really worked out for us today.
When you started to get that dominance in the scrum, it must just continue to lift, not just you, but everyone in this side. Is that what it's like?
Yeah, certainly. When we scrum well, we play well as a whole team. The team feeds off that energy. So, it was a great performance.
It was a different game from the Springboks tonight. A little bit of width on the game. The kicking was excellent, but again, there was some rugby being played, which was incredible.
Yeah, no, it was a complete performance, and I think our physicality was probably our foundation. We really got stuck into England right from the onset, and I think we just built on that, and we kept on believing, and then eventually the bounce of the ball went our way.
So many tests for the Springboks now. Is this the finest?
For me? Oh, geez. Obviously, I haven't made any decisions yet, but I'll probably be announcing, probably about my future in the next couple of weeks.
Well, best of luck. We've enjoyed watching you play. Congratulations.
Thank you very much. You join in.
He's known as the Beast, and it was a beast of a scrum, wasn't it, Justin?
Yeah, look, we knew this was going to be a foundation that the Springboks were hoping to gain parity and ascendancy to give some sort of hope to the back line, and it ended up being one of 5 or 6 dominant aspects of the game. They dominated in the loose, threw the ball around with aplomb. Kicking game was superb, but nothing works for the Springboks unless they have this sort of dominance in the scrum, and it was evident all through the night.
Sorry, Steve. You can measure it in points. So many penalties, so many directly led to 3 points. It was, I think, the foundation layer.
Absolutely. The psychological advantage you get, you essentially break 8 big, strong English forwards. You can almost break them. And they turned it around, England, to their credit. But when you're playing against a guy like the Beast, he's such a big, physical guy. And let alone that, you've got almost in every stadium that he plays in, 80% of the crowd chant his name the second he gets the ball. He's a cult hero, and he's been in that side for a long time. He's been there at the start. He's been there 2 years ago when things weren't going well, and you know, at the start of the week, those guys would have known that the pressure was on them to deliver this side of World Cup.
We spoke about the size differences from the beast. Let's go back to one of the smaller members of the contingent.
Faf, this moment is a great moment. How does it feel for you?
Oh, it's indescribable. It's so happy to be here, and I think this means a lot for myself, for my team, and especially for our country. And to get this win, yeah, it's indescribable. It's actually amazing.
You would have understood, and you know how much support was coming from home. How much did that drive the team?
I think all the messages we received, the people that were here were amazing, and then the support we got from back home it's astounding how much people send us stuff, videos, schools, big businesses. It was amazing, and our president came to speak to us this morning, so yeah, we really could feel the support, and we know South Africa needed something like this, so to give it back to them will be absolutely amazing.
You changed up your game tonight, played with the width, which we know you can play with. I think that was one of the deciding factors.
I think it was. It wasn't completely our plan. We still wanted to take contest in the air, but I thought our drivers made good decisions when to take it out wide, and we got some good reward from it. And yeah, credit to the boys for making those big calls in a big game.
Tell me about that scrum. What went on up front? They were like men possessed, the 8.
No, they were absolutely phenomenal. The boys that came off the bench, the bomb squad as they call themselves, they just made a massive effort, and the starters, it just continued going. So I think that's a massive squad effort. Everybody can do their job when they're called upon. So yeah, just so overjoyed, and the forwards have been absolutely phenomenal this whole World Cup.
Thank you, Rugby World Champion Faf de Klerk.
Thanks a lot, mate. Appreciate it.
What did you think of his performance tonight, Faf?
Oh, outstanding. It seems to be that if you can't be effective off the bench unless you give the reserves a name, bomb squad or finishers or something. Every time I was on the reserve bench on tour, it was finding where the pub was to go to group or something like that. But Faf de Klerk, absolutely outstanding, and you know, for his stature and his physicality for such a small man, huge amount of skill. And just what struck me about him during the game was his calmness. He never seemed to be rattled, even when they were trying to run back and organise and reorganise. His language wasn't flurried or rushed. He never seemed bad-tempered during the match. Yeah. Just seemed in complete control.
He spins the ball like he's a Harlem Globetrotter, doesn't he, before he feeds the scrub? Yeah, he seems very relaxed.
Yeah, and we're comparing that to Ben Youngs, who from the very early parts of the game, he looked flustered, and that had a flow-on effect. You know, either Ford had one error, Laws had an error, and all of a sudden you've got 7 of your key players that are just making unforced, uncharacteristic errors.
I mean, normally it's a bit of a fallacy to say, let's compare the 9 against the 9 or the 10 against the 10. But in this instance, you can to a certain degree because of Faf de Klerk's brilliant defensive work as well. Time and again in that first half hour when England could get some ball away, he kept picking that rush defence. And I don't know how many times, guys, we saw Ben Youngs, he looked to pass, he checked. Very first time he got the ball, de Klerk cut him off, he threw it straight into touch. That's a World Cup final, and suddenly all the players around you going, Ben's just throwing the ball straight into touch. Faf de Klerk was hugely influential.
Every single one of the players that's spoken has spoken about the country needing this win. That's obviously a nation that struggles with high levels of poverty across the townships. This would have been watched in taverns, as Sia Khaleesi pointed out. He watched the last World Cup win in a tavern himself. His mother passed away when he was just a young teenager. She gave birth to him at the age of 16. So he really grew up with nothing in a township in Port Elizabeth. He knows what it's like to walk to school without shoes on, to not be given anything, except he was fortunate enough to be spotted by talent scout Stephen Hoyles at the age of 12 and went to the prestigious Grey High School, and which has developed Springboks and international cricket players. But, well, what a wonderful night for them and for all of those South Africans this evening.
And Khaleesi's father, I believe, is in the crowd as well. He's never left the country of South Africa. He's been flown over to the final, so another special moment. Yeah, he went to Bloemfontein College, which has produced more Springboks than any school in South Africa. It's just a remarkable story.
President Cyril Ramaphosa, who flew in for this, wearing a Springbok jersey, and we think back to the great president of '95 and Nelson Mandela, the image of him in a Springbok jersey. Well, this is the modern day version with the black captain. The first black captain, the third Springbok captain to win, and he has spoken about the importance of that symbolism to give people hope. And they certainly need it, given, as we've spoken about, the poverty, the high levels of crime, the corruption that exists in that particular nation. Yeah, look, this World Cup spat out all sorts of heroes, but none more significant than the men that have just taken the field and the wider team that have contributed to the South African effort. And of course, you know, unifying countries goes far beyond just the walls of a sporting cauldron, but absolutely that's a step in the right direction. As we said before, that's a huge leap forward for the unity message and for the South African self-belief. What about...
Sorry, I just cut off because, Justin, I saw your sons this morning on the way here and I said, you're wearing your South African jersey? And they said, we don't have one yet. Dad hasn't bought us any because Justin's married to a South African. So you're up for 2 Springbok jerseys, my friend. Yeah. You're going to have to go to Rebel tomorrow and buy 2 Springbok jerseys. Yeah, well, I think I'm on eggs tomorrow for breakfast, that's for sure. I love it. Brilliant. Well, we heard it. We saw the Colby try earlier. Let's have a look at the first try. The first World Cup try at a final for South Africa. Even though they've won 2 previous finals, they hadn't scored a try. They'd done that simply by the boot. But Stu Barnes, this was a magnificent effort.
Well, my Pimpy's had a hell of a tournament. He didn't quite catch Josh Adams, I believe, but scored, I think, is that his 6th try. Very clever, very aggressive. He was a bloke, when I first started watching him play, had a huge amount of skill, but he was really rough in his game. In the last 2 years, he's gone from being a provincial player to a World Cup winning wing. And Lukanya Am as well. At outside centre, his defence was outstanding. He worked so hard at the turnovers. When he got his chance to be creative, he took that ball, and the way he just took that one step infield, give the pass. I'm not certain if that's Mandela Square, but somewhere
that's in Monte Casino in Johannesburg. That's where that is.
That's Monte Casino.
Yeah,
is it? You stay there.
Yeah, yeah.
That's what did you think about Mpimpi? Because what we saw tonight was South Africa finding another gear, didn't we? Beyond that semi-final win. Yeah, well, we said it about Colby. They only got a couple of chances, Mpimpi and Colby and Am, the likes of these guys. And that lovely little catch pass from Malcolm Marx, just, you know, you can be as big and as tough as you want over in South Africa, but he's got skill like an old number 10. And they only got 3 or 4 chances after they spent, you know, 70, 80% of the game just trying to soak the pressure out of England, but they still managed to score some classy tries because they've always had that on the edge of their field. That's what we've seen for the last 2 years. So their style was actually quite good tonight. Faf said that they probably didn't plan to go wide, but you're always going to, at some stage, have to go there. And when you've got class players there, you're lucky enough to get the points. Indeed. Coming up, more from Yokohama Stadium. Springboks crown the champions. Plus, what was your highlight of the World Cup? We'll reveal ours next. And don't forget, the rugby season is at an end, but the cricket's to start.
Tu savais, toi, que la prochaine Coupe du Monde de rugby va se dérouler en France? Ça va piquer, mais on est prêt.
On sera là.
On sera là où on nous attend pas.
On sera en rugby, et bien plus encore.
T'en penses quoi, Marcel?
We wrap up at one World Cup, we look forward to the next, and we can rest assured in 2023 there won't be any typhoons.
No, well, world's going pretty mad, but if there is in France, we really are in an immediate problem. What there will be is some fantastic rugby, and, you know, who would bet against France going well? Some young ones who look very, very talented.
It's almost like they were planning for that World Cup with this squad, a very young squad, isn't it?
Yeah, France never thought they could win this one. They think they've got a bit of a chance next time because it is in France, but for right now, I guess the only story in town is South Africa, isn't it? And Cheslin Colby, that's the France glory. There's a lot of Frenchmen, actually. Vermeulen and Colby. There's a number of players who've been plying their trade in France.
Well, last time they played it in France, the Springboks won it in '07, and one of those members of the Springbok squad spoke to Rod Kafer.
Brian, tell me what it's like as a former winner to see it done again.
I think it's absolutely phenomenal. John Smith said in an interview this week, it's transformational, Kafe. I think this team had a massive task ahead of them. They came in as a favourite, but probably realistically maybe not in the top 1 or 2. To see what they've achieved after losing that first game against the All Blacks, against an England side that everyone had written up immensely. I think the performance and the way in which they played tonight, the dominance in which they showed in almost every facet of the game was absolutely incredible. For Sia to become the first black African to captain the side to a World Cup victory, for him to be taking that trophy home to South Africa that's probably been going through a lot of political and economical difficulties. It's a moment that will live for these people forever. In 2007 we got told by the 95 group to create new legacies, and this team has done something probably much bigger than what we were able to do in 2007. And long may this emotion, this passion that they're feeling, that the whole country in South Africa is feeling at the moment, and may it be a catalyst to change for the better.
I know you'll go and enjoy it. We might enjoy it together. Well done to South Africa.
Thanks very much, Gav. All the best.
Very pleased. He knows what it feels like for Cheslin Colby, the rest of that team.
I believe he was World Player of the Year in 2007. He was remarkable in that World Cup, and that was really nice what he said. It was intelligent what he said, and he's pointed out there are some difficulties there, but he also pointed out that hopefully this win from South Africa on the back of Khaleesi's captain can make some change, maybe some sustainable change.
South African captain was asked what it was like to lift the World Cup.
I honestly can't explain how I was feeling at that time, but to see the joy in my teammates' faces, that was the best thing, I think, for me, because I know how hard it worked and how hard the coaches have worked, and we're really just grateful, and but the way we played, we wanted to say thank you to our coach who's came in and just changed a lot, and on the way that we saw rugby as well. And I'm really grateful we could do this for him and the coaching staff and everybody in the management.
That's Sia Khaleesi, the captain of this Springboks team. Let's go back to Yokohama Stadium, and we've got Tim Horan, George Gregan and Phil Kearns standing by. Tim, we've spoken about the captain, the importance, the significance of the first black captain to hold aloft the World Cup, and it just feels like this evening, this event is much bigger than just a rugby match.
Oh, it's amazing. And when you look back at the last 7.5 weeks of the tournament, it's all about the fans, I think. I mean, on the field's fantastic, but the fans, especially the local fans in Japan, have gone to every game, they've cheered, they've really got involved in the whole tournament. They understand a bit more about rugby now. And the way the Japanese team played probably inspired a new generation of rugby players, both boys and girls, not only here in Japan, but around the world. So for mine, my best memory is going to be that game, Japan up against Scotland. What an incredible match that was.
George Gregan, your reflections on this tournament, the first in Asia, it's been an unequivocal success, hasn't it?
Yeah, it has, and I think just the spirit of rugby shone through from everything what Tim was saying. Just the spirit which was shown at the game, the respect that was shown towards all the teams that participated. I remember the Canadian team helping after Hagibis, doing the clean-up, really helping the locals. And then the day after Hagibis, the game which was cancelled, we saw Scotland play against Japan to see who was going to potentially go through the quarterfinals or top the pool. And Japan played inspiring rugby, which I think set the tone for the rest of this World Cup. The semi-final between the All Blacks and England was pretty special. This final tonight was amazing, but I'll go with the Yokohama Day when they beat Scotland in their home country.
Yeah, the whole style of play, the Japanese, was just incredible. But for me, the wonderful thing about this tournament across the board has just been the performance of the minnows, where, if we're still allowed to call them that. If we go back to the World Cup in Australia, for example, there were scores in the hundreds. 142-0, I think. Australia won one of the games there against Uruguay, I think it was, in Adelaide. Namibia in Adelaide. So we had none of those scores this World Cup. I think the highest was in the 60s. And, that shows a massive improvement amongst these sides. And you're going to see over the next 12 to 16 years, teams like the USA getting up and winning a game here and there against one of the major nations, a Scotland or an England. Hopefully it's not going to be us. But that performance of those smaller rugby nations are just really improving out of sight with better coaching, better IP coming into the way they're doing things.
Greg's a lot of talk about legacy from the World Cup. What's the legacy with Australia and that relationship with Japan now? It's a trade route and it's a rugby talent sharing route.
Yeah, I think there's obviously a strong relationship between Australian teams, and particularly Super Rugby teams with a number of the Japanese clubs. I think what's being shown, I think in the past, people haven't, a lot of Japanese players have come to Super Rugby squads and haven't been given much game time. They can play, and I think we need to harness that and strengthen that relationship, because that's a really good example of how we can improve some of the difficulties around Australian rugby in terms of playing up here in Japan, remuneration, etc., but also the quality of play. It's a different style. We saw with that ball keep rugby that's a really hard way to play rugby. It's hard to defend, but these guys, I'd have to say, it's a strong case, but I think they're probably the masters of ball keep, the Japanese players.
Well, I think we're supposed to be teaching them, but I think they've taught us a lesson or two, right?
Yeah, for sure.
And Tim Horan, finally to you, just to wrap up what we touched on earlier, but 14 million rugby fans in Japan at the start of the tournament. You'd multiply that by quite a big number now, and across Asia we're talking over 100 million fans. Would you say this is an important milestone more broadly for the sport?
Well, I think more broadly for the sport, it's actually given a lot of people an entree into the sport, whether it's 15s or whether it's 7s. Now they've seen how the sport's played. Actually, I was talking to a couple of Japanese supporters a couple of weeks ago, and they can't understand how in rugby all the fans are intermingled amongst the crowd, whereas when they play football, the home and away teams sit apart. So that's the great thing about rugby, and as I said, it'll inspire boys and girls to play all around the world, whether it's 7-a-side or 10s or 15s, and hopefully throughout the last 7 weeks we've brought the images back to the lounge room, the pubs and the clubs through Fox Sports and show them what rugby's all about.
Well, hopefully, Tim, also it'll give World Rugby the bravery to go to another nation like the USA, for example, to hold a World Cup. We know it's going to France next, but maybe another nation that's like the USA can host it from there.
Phil Kearns, George Gregan, Tim Horan, thanks so much for your work throughout this World Cup campaign. Enjoy the evening in Yokohama. No doubt you will. It's been a wonderful celebration tonight of rugby. The South Africans will be celebrating long and hard. But Stephen Hoyles, let's talk about this as a World Cup, because you've been to a number, you've played at them, but this Japanese hosting has been a triumph.
Yeah, and I only got to go up there for 48 hours to be involved in the Classic Wallabies game, and you got the sense that it was something different compared to the other World Cups that I'd been at as either playing or watching, and it was the first time we've been to Asia. It is such a big market, and we spruik that we're a global game, but we've very much still, up until this World Cup, we're a North and a South type world in union. So this is a good step, and Australia's going to try and bid for one in 2027. USA are going to try and go for one, and those nations, like you mentioned USA and Canada, we still need to make sure they improve. Uruguay have improved, but we need to make sure those other nations improve.
Well, the Minnows, Phil Kearns spoke about Uruguay. That one of the highlights for me was that win over Fiji, the emotion, Stu, the captain, his speech was just wonderful on that day at a place which was reconstructed off the back of the tsunami and the Fukushima disaster all those years ago. And what a wonderful celebration that was.
A great day and a wonderful celebration, and I enjoyed tears running down your eyes, Kieran, watching our man, the Uruguayan captain, on that speech.
Yeah, well, you'd tower over him.
Well,
He was not a big fella, but he
was a bit fitter than me.
He's not 2'3".
What about the Canadians? George Gregan did speak about that, about the Canadians helping after the typhoon. Yes. This was such a classy response. Their game was cancelled, so they went out and helped.
Yeah, and look, this is human nature. You put aside your rugby boots and your iconic images of being professional sportsmen and women around the world, and you do what humans do best, and that's help people in trouble, and that's human nature, and that's something that's very, very comforting to see in the middle of a World Cup campaign.
It was, wasn't it? And one of the things that was iconic was the haka. There's been this debate, but the English response was awesome in that match. They played their final, really, didn't they, last week? But I think so many people watching you last night would agree with you, Stephen, when you said, keep the haka.
Oh, I just see maybe it's people just trying to fill some newspaper articles. Every 4 years, this same stuff comes around. I don't think New Zealand get a psychological advantage over doing this. I don't think the side that's on the receiving end of a haka gets a psychological deficit. So it was one of the images of the World Cup, and maybe England did play their final a week too early, but you know what? They had to throw everything at New Zealand the week before. There'll be absolutely no regrets in their preparation. They had to play as well as they could to make the World Cup final. They rolled the dice tonight. It didn't work. They had a little bit of unluck early on with some injuries, and South Africa in the end, clearly deserve their favouritism, deserve that title.
There's no doubt. England didn't play... They played their best game, but they didn't play their final. They had the extra day recovery as well, and we keep hearing camps now saying, oh, the extra day. England were the team that played Saturday, Springboks played Sunday. So Springboks had a slight disadvantage. All that happened today was last week England tactically outmanoeuvred New Zealand and played beautifully. This time South Africa understood how to beat England and their players executed it really well.
From an Australian perspective, Justin, as we look back, one of the glimmers of hope, Jordan Petaia, was very impressive, wasn't he?
Yeah, Jordan Petaia, one of the youngest Wallabies to make his Test debut, and particularly at a World Cup. You know, everything he did seemed to be educated and mature, and that's certainly a player who's on a pathway to expected greatness. The challenge for him now is to manage expectation, concentrate what's important. A lot of people are going to be telling him what they think's important for him. He has to work that out for himself and find his own way forward. This Wallaby group as well, I think, has developed some real character in adversity. Unfortunately, it is a tired cliche, but one that is well worth experiencing. Adversity certainly does develop character, and this group of players that will survive the exodus of senior players will be a very powerful one moving forward.
That's good. You've got a sense of optimism there, Stephen. Do you share that?
Yeah, in 4 years' time, there's most World Cups. You look at a rotation, and I think there's 10 English players from the previous World Cup. There's about half the squad, if not more. This is a young Wallaby squad. Half the squad, if not more, will be in contention for the next World Cup. And unfortunately, it's a bitter pill to swallow to be saying that. You've got to go through adversity. It's the only way. Unfortunately, that's where we are, and they get some decisions to make now. Do they play the victim, or do they put their hand up and try and find a way to get themselves out of this? And that's, hopefully the Australian way is to find a solution, not talk about the problems.
I mean, you look at England 4 years ago, they got eliminated at home in their old World Cup. They didn't know what to do in the back row. They ended up in the final of the World Cup. Australia, they have to work out what they're doing at 9, 10, 12, because unless they get the core of that right, no matter how strong their forwards, they've got to have people who can shape and put you in the right positions, as we saw with Faf de Klerk and Pollard tonight. But if Australia do that, they have a lot of very good players coming through. I totally agree with you on that one, Justin.
So 2023, we can keep our fingers crossed.
Oh, no, the fingers crossed doesn't work. You've got to get your hands dirty now. We've got to get in and have a look at everything that's happening.
The whole process, the coaching, everything.
Not what's just best for top end, what's best for community, what's good for grassroots, and what's good for rural areas that have been a backbone of the Australian sport for a long, long time.
Justin Harrison, Stu Barnes, Stephen Halls, thanks so much. It's been a pleasure to be a part of this coverage throughout the Rugby Union World Cup campaign and to be part of the Fox Sports team, the best in the business. Stay with us for all the coverage of sport over the summer ahead. Thanks for your company.
Anything is possible. Give everything or none at all. Our truth will not be buried. We're gonna be legendary. Legendary.
This has been a Fox Sports production.